Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Point 99 podcast. This episode is the final episode of what has been an amazing first season for the show, but it'll also be a springboard going into the short break to prepare for what we hope and expect will be an even wilder season 2. But let's get stuck into what I fully expect to be a monster season finale. For new listeners to the podcast, firstly, where have you been? Secondly, you might be asking what the Point 99 podcast is. Well, we're a running podcast for runners by runners. For anyone who might just be kicking off their running journey, we hope to have topics and discussions that will help you along whatever path your journey is taking. Or for the seasoned runners amongst you, maybe some stories that will have you empathizing with our experiences. Whether it's lessons we've learned during our own journeys, embarrassing stories, or heartstring pulling moments. Hopefully you'll stick with us while we try share some good vibes, motivation, and positivity. And maybe, just maybe, have a laugh along the way. Episode 10, however, is, as already mentioned, a super special episode, and not just because it's the finale. It's also not only because it's the episode where everyone can bask in the majestic audio of the dawning of the Steve Triumvirate, where 2 become 3. We have much more to add into the mix, which you'll all have to stick with us for as we launch a mega giveaway. The prize package up for grabs not only includes an entry to a massive event on our sporting calendar, but also a prize package inclusive of amazing products from our friends over at Runner and Trainer Armour, totaling in excess of £100. But before we can herald in the coming of the third Steve and announce how you can enter our amazing prize giveaway, I first have to introduce my ever jolly and capable right-hand Steve. It is, of course, the River Thames' very own bearded equivalent of the Loch Ness Monster, the ever awesome and equally legendary Runner Man Steve.
You got there.
I got there. I don't know how many times I had to do that one. I lost count.
I was literally listening along to that thinking, this is like a blooper reel.
It is.
But you got there in the end, you persisted.
I got to. Really got to. That was just a bit of a tongue twister and I couldn't read my own writing.
You know what? I was like, you keep going, boy. Keep going.
I think every intro as the season's gone on has got more and more elaborate, from just the base stock one that was easy to regurgitate to now I'm writing a short story.
Mixing it up, making more work for yourself by mixing it up.
Anyway, you're all good, buddy?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, for those who follow my socials, you'll know that I've broken my little toe running around the flat with my daughter. Ridiculous, because I broke it on a croc. I got crocked by a croc. The very same croc that I've been absolutely ripping the you-know-whats out of. And it said, no worries.
It's getting its own back. Yeah.
And I just want to put a disclaimer out there. It is not my croc. If I had my way, I wouldn't talk to anyone that owns a croc or where there's a croc, which makes it equally as worse because I've spent the entire time any croc gets ripped apart, and it's what's taken me out of running for 4 to 6 weeks, which is really annoying. This last week of not running has felt like a month. I've been trying to tell myself, it's okay to take a week off. You won't lose fitness. And I was thinking, yeah, but I'd already had 2 weeks off after the marathon. So where is the fitness?
Yeah. I mean, 12 days, they say, but it's maybe not going to do you any harm. It was pretty full on before London Marathon. So having a couple of months off is not going to do you too much harm, and you'll come back stronger from it.
Yeah, no, but I'll be, from Monday, I'll be back in the gym, do some bike work, cross trainer. So I can still do things to keep the fitness there.
Yeah. It's
just then, my physio did say to me, do try and go swimming though, because if you do all bike, your hips are not going to thank you for it when you get back to running again. So,
honestly, I tell you, we went away after the last episode came out. myself and the wife went away for a night to a place called Pitlochry, which is in the middle of the Cairngorm National Park, then towards Perth. Having a swimming pool at the hotel, I don't know how long it has been since I've had a proper swim, and it was so nice, so good on the legs. And having carried that injury worry, what was the ITB that went to then is it a knee, to turn out it was the calf. It was so nice just to get a little bit of aquatherapy and just like kick out and just get back to my old swimming club days.
Yeah, I think so. The only thing I've got to do is go to a pool where I'm the one I sort of know I can stand up in the middle because I can't tread water. I'm like 35 and I can't tread water. Um, people look at me like, you can't swim. I was like, I had a fear, okay? You know,
Well, it's quite common. I would say it's more common than not for people that can't swim, and
yeah,
it's totally
yeah.
okay to not be able to swim. It's not as if we're out there all the time. It's less common for people to go
No,
swimming nowadays.
it is. And I think it's more so when you have a parent that carries that sort of fear, and then that parent, you won't be as exposed to swimming because of the fear from the parent. So
Hmm.
it's something that I was trying to work on before my daughter was born, and then it just went to the wayside. But if I wanted to be going to swimming, I've got to sort of pull up the big boy pants again and try and swim properly. But
That's potentially a good little method, especially with what you were saying last episode, where she's got an interest in getting into. She's mentioned about wanting to run with you and do fitness
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
If she's doing swimming lessons, you can do swimming lessons.
hundred
It's
percent.
you can learn together, and that could be a really nice father daughter thing to do.
Yeah, and I've now added to my bucket list of life is to hopefully one day run a marathon with my daughter.
Yeah.
That being said, though, by the time if she's like 18, 19, 20, I'll be in like into me 50s, so she would absolutely rinse me.
Here,
Oh,
honestly, I mean, we're going to get into how Sunday went, but there was a Belgian father and daughter at the Edinburgh Marathon in our pen, and yeah, he must have been in his 50s, and they stuck together. They had a great time.
yeah, well, it's either going to be youth beats age or experience beats youth. So one or two is going to happen.
You'll be
By then, I
getting your
should be a
BQ
pro
by
it by
then.
then, surely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I beat you.
So your
Oh,
running week's been pretty low then, because obviously broken toe, especially being your main balancer, it's limited your activity.
yeah, I'm able to walk on my foot a lot easier, but it's sort of there and I can feel it. I know it would be. I could probably go for a plod,
Hmm.
but it wouldn't be the wisest thing.
No, you're just gonna make
So
it worse. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not going to make any sort of gain out of it. You make it worse, I could be out for months rather than weeks. So it is what it is. These things happen. It could be worse. It could be broken foot. It could be 6 months.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I went to track and core, um, met up with those, knowing that I weren't going to be running. But they had, it will allude to in our interview with our guest. But they was doing bits and pieces, and it was a very chilled vibe. I'll be going back again tomorrow. Um, just getting to know everyone, to getting to know the community. We're not injured alone. Happy day. Could be worse. Happy days.
Yeah, well, there's other people going to be carrying injuries, going to the socials, and
Yeah, they
yeah,
do.
as
They
as
do.
we
I didn't
cover.
realize it.
Well,
I
that's
didn't
it.
realize it.
We cover it in the interview, so it's
Yeah.
something to look forward to for listeners. It is well worth. We had a great time talking to our guest. Steve runs LDN. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a lot quieter. You'll notice that most of our regular
Yeah.
listeners will notice I'm a lot quieter in this one. But I could have just got a nice warm cup of tea and just sat and listened to his story, and he's got a lot more to share with us. A lot more.
He's got a lot to share. And I'm sure that people are going to enjoy the chat we had. I felt, you know, very easy in leading the conversation, having that just it's like we was just chatting on the phone. We literally was chatting on the phone, but it didn't feel like we was recording, if that makes sense. So I think
Yeah.
people will find that it flowed pretty well. So I hope you all enjoyed it.
I think most of the listeners are followers of mine, either through yourself or myself now, so they know I've had a pretty big weekend just gone by. But it wasn't easy. We covered it in last episode with Ryan. But Edinburgh Marathon, after injury concern, signing up with only 7 weeks to go, doing 3 weeks of structured training, then having injury concern to having to drop down to a abysmal amount of training, training my friend and really limiting long distance running, trying to save the legs as much as possible, turning out that it was something fairly simple and insignificant in a way, but still nursing it. I was super paranoid going in to Sunday, like every day last week. I was like, I think I'm going to really do myself a mischief here. Like you said yourself, get into it too early, injure yourself, be out. And I thought, well, what's going to happen here? So I'm going to go along. It's going to actually be a proper injury. I'm going to put myself out for 6 weeks. And given that with Amsterdam training having to start in 6 weeks' time for a 16-week training block, I could potentially be putting myself up for failure for a start and really starting off my Amsterdam push for the PB on the wrong foot. But it actually went really well. There's gonna be a few moments here where a few people are going to be like, it's a bit too much information, but yeah, the weekend as a whole, it was great. We met up with a couple of the who dropped the Deborah team, the Gies and Elodie, who I was running with. I was going to be pacing. We met up with them for the night before, and Alex. I'm going to shout Alex out, so we'll shout him out in a little bit. But we had a lovely meal with my wife the night before, a bit of a pizza party. Thought nothing of it. Ordered the pepperoni. Was really well behaved. Didn't have alcohol, which was difficult because I was in good company. I wanted to have a frozen mojito, but thought nothing of it. Had the pepperoni. Was well behaved. Went home. Went back to the hotel. Watched a movie. Got an early night. Got up in the morning. Yeah, usual. Have a coffee. Stomach's not quite right, but it was just normal nerves. Paranoia had gone. Got like a really good breakfast, nice porridge in. Still, stomach was playing up a little bit, but thought nothing of it. But we got down to the start line, and unfortunately, Ryan wasn't able to join us for dinner. He was meant to, but being that Harry Styles was playing in Edinburgh for 2 nights, the trains were manic, and the poor guy was stuck on the train for like 2-3 hours coming over from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Man. Yeah, he was stressed to the nines. He just wanted to get to his hotel, see his friends, and just chill. So we didn't unfortunately get to meet him the night before, but come the morning, the hotel we were staying at was really close to the start line. A lovely place in Edinburgh called the Meadows. Anyone that's familiar with Hibernian Football Club will know the Meadows. So I walked down, gets to the start line nice and early, and I met with Ryan. Oh, actually, first off, I met some of the Newton Roadrunners because I couldn't see Ryan. I could see the Newton Roadrunner tops though, so I went and chatted to them. Still no sign, they hadn't seen him. Dropped a message, and here he was hiding in a park with Jace, who's the Edinburgh runner. I kind of known Jace. I followed Jace for a while. He'd been up. He'd absolutely smashed the Inverness half marathon. So got to meet Jace. Got to meet Ryan for the first time. Bob Burrow makes an appearance, and honestly, the nicest guys. Really, really nice to meet them, and it really helped settle my nerves and my paranoia that anything that was carrying. Again, the pre-marathon rituals, visit the toilets. At this point, Giz and Elodie were in a mile-long queue to get to the Portaloos. Ryan, however, because there was strategic toilets within buildings, he'd found a quiet one for the gents. Dropped me a message, get yourself in there. That's job done. Bag in the truck. Yeah. Clean myself out, modiumed up. Honestly, a bit too much information, but ready to go. So we're all ready to go. Marathon starts, and it was quite quick this year because we weren't so far out of town. The pens weren't so elongated. It didn't take like 15-20 minutes to get going. Within 5 minutes we were running. Lovely amount of people supporting us. Lovely sort of start to the route. but within the first 5-10 minutes, no, not was it 10-15 minutes, poor Elodie like takes a tumble. She was chatting away to us, and the organisers had put these bollards up along one of the pavements, but not put any chains or anything. So she was blocked by a few people, kind of similar to the story you were talking about, the pacer around about Manchester sort of time. And she took a tumble, so she cut her hand. Luckily, one of the dibber guys had recommended always take a buff with you just in case. So she had this buff. She strapped her hand up. Trooper she was. She shrugged it off. She said she was fine, and we got going. She set the pace. I was just there to be the pacer, make sure that she stuck to the pace. And yeah, a good start. Sun was already out, belting down. Lovely day. Ice cream vans. Wished we could have stopped. Got passed by a guy in a rhino outfit, and we'll come to the rhino man in a little bit. But no, really good. Giz had planned originally to run a kilometre, then walk for 200 metres and run a kilometre, but she managed to stick with us. Well, she stuck with Elodie till 14 kilometres. She did really well. I unfortunately had to stop for my first convenient stop at 7 kilometres. I then had to push to catch them. They were doing 7 minutes a kilometre by that sort of stage. So it didn't take me that long to catch them first. And then as soon as, no sooner had I caught them that it was comfort break number 2. By this point, I realised that the pizza I'd had the night before wasn't just a pepperoni pizza. It had spicy marinara sauce on it. So honestly, I am so tempted to do a mid-season podcast doing the Portaloo review for EMF. I visited nearly every Portaloo going on that course. But you live and learn. I thought I was sticking safe, have a nice safe pepperoni. But yeah. So yeah, 5 Imodium, and it was so uncomfortable. Just being gassed up to the nines.
Imodium.
Yeah, 5 Imodium.
Sorry, that is roof. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, you should have seen what's coming out of me. It was a lot.
Oh, mate. Oh, listen. See, me, I always take it when I wake up every day. When I do my run, when I wake up, not too close to it, I take it and let it settle.
But that's what I did. I had my normal routine, and then I took 2 because I'd let the coffee do its work. I took 2, and then I had another because I'd had another requirement to let's keep it at that. And then it was only when I started running, and it was the Imodium Instant I was using, but it was really uncomfortable. But the pace that we were doing, I think it was just the up and down movement was making my stomach just jiggle around a wee bitty. But thankfully, like, this point, I'd said to Elodie, look, don't wait for me. Girls, don't wait for me. I can catch you. I've got the pace in my legs feeling really good. I'll catch up with you. So I managed to catch Giz, and Giz had just, at this point, she's only just finished. She was trying to just drop from Elodie around about the 14 sort of K mark. So as I started running with Giz, we managed to get to the cheer squad, and it was so nice. Like the guys that had run the half marathon, the Dibber crew, they were there. They were at the 11 mile mark when we got to them. They were in really good spirits. They kept not only us going, like, it was really nice to kind of, I just stopped, and Lee said afterwards, and even at the time, he says, you are so relaxed, you're so happy compared to last year. So I stopped. I had like a couple of minutes chatting to them. It felt like a couple of minutes. It might have only been like 30 seconds. And then I had a mission to catch up with Elodie. And you can, if you look at my Strava, like, Steve, you can see my Strava. You can see where I stopped. Now it's like pretty consistent, and it's like toilet break, and then another consistency and toilet break, and then that was a very quick toilet break, that one. But then there's another one. So it took me a really good old time to catch Elodie. She was consistent with a 6:50 per kilometre to 7 minute kilometre. And I was at one point pushing 5:20 a kilometre. I didn't want to push much more than that because I just wanted to catch her. I wasn't wanting to burn myself out or anything. And it took me until the turning point. So anyone familiar with Edinburgh will know how far the turning point is, and I could see her going into the turning point grounds. So I catch up with her. I'd been chatting to other people along the way, kind of just having a good old time and giving some advice to people that were new to the course. And I took my hydration vest because I knew I was going slightly slower. I knew it was going to be hot. So I had my hydration. I had tablets in it, so I was keeping the sugars and the salts and everything high. I followed your advice and it worked. A treat, Steve. Every 7 kilometers, take a gel. When I wasn't taking gel, I had dextrose tablets. My hydration, my nutrition was really, really good. I had no issue there. But my biggest issue was, and I think for a lot of people, was the heat. And it was so warm to the point where there was at least, I think, 2 cardiac arrests on course, if not more. A lot of passed out runners and a lot of ambulances at the end. It was so warm, and it's quite bad when that happens. It's just unfortunate. It's just you don't expect Scotland to be as warm as we're having. I didn't expect it, and anyone that's seen my face and my shoulders now will know that I didn't expect it. I did plan to take sunscreen with me, suntan lotion. The wife had it, but it was like the quietest. I've got suntan lotion as I stepped out the door. Factor 50. So I do look like I've been hit in the face with an iron. It's not very pleasant, but you live and you learn.
You do look like what's his name in Home Alone when he's scratched in the face by
Yes,
the iron.
that is exactly what the wet bandits. What's this?
You're the
Yeah,
wet bandits.
honestly, anyone's like, I've not put a photo on socials of it because it's horrendous. I decided that it was a wise idea to wear my hat backwards, my baseball cap, like I always do. But I think maybe in the future I'll start wearing it the normal way around. But getting back to how we got on. So turning point, sees Elodie in the distance. I knew I was only maybe a couple hundred meters behind her at this point. So I took my time. I caught her. She was listening to her podcast, so I kind of just chilled, tapped her on her shoulder, and gave her the nod. But I cruised past her, and she says, "You do what you need to do." I'm like, "No, I'm your pacer. I'm here to support you, but I also need that Portaloo that's up the other end of that road." So I take off, get in the Portaloo, do what I need to do, catch her, and she's right there. So from that moment on, we were together. Now, I did stop again, but it was at the same point that she needed to take a tactical walk section. And she'd I think only walked 2 or 3 times. She did so well. And I keep saying to anyone in comments and on my posts, even without me, she would have got her sub 5. I fully believe she didn't need my support. But because of how she was last year, she struggled mentally because she had nobody at the event with her. But this time round, she had myself running with her. She had Geese that was slightly further behind us at this point, and turned out she was only about 3 kilometers behind us. She had the cheer crew. She had people there, but to have someone at her side to help her through the tough mental battle. I didn't hit a wall. I'm pretty sure she did, though. So she took a couple of tactical walks, but honestly, she did so well. We got to a point where she had to take a tactical walk up it was a slow burning climb, and to see the elite athletes by this point, they were having to really push at this point. It was they were crying out for water, and there was plenty of water, so there was no issues there. I should have actually said, but before that, we not only did we see the main cheer squad, but Emily from their previous episode, Emily in the outdoors. She was at, I think it was mile 15, and I saw her like about 100 meters away, and I shouted. I saw her sign, and I shouted, and she came running up to her. I gave her the biggest, sweatiest hug going. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see Alison Jardine from the Press Play and Run podcast because she was with Ryan's wife, and he'd pretty much crossed over at the same point. So he was going back as I was going out. So we did see her there, but we got past this walking point, which is pretty much parallel to where I'd previously seen Emily. and we see the sign, everything ends eventually, and like that's really reassuring. Being that our team had run as if someone's chasing you with a jobby on a stick, and any kind of weird things like
I
that.
saw
It
that.
was so good. And people were like, "What is a jobby?" They're like, having to find out. The best sign that we saw, and Elodie was really good. She says we have to salute this woman. We saw the woman 4 times, and her sign just said general encouragement. So we were doing the old salute of general encouragement. The woman was so loving it by the end of it. But we got to we. I did say to her, we had about half an hour to go, 40 minutes to go before and to do 5K. And I said to Elle, look, well, we can do a tactical walk at this point, and then we are going to go for this. We're going to get you the sub 5. You have it in you. You're going really well at the moment. And that's what we did. We got to, I made a promise made by about a kilometer to go. She would use whatever she had left. She would put her foot down. She would just change the gear. And we saw the crew who were there cheering us. And again, they said that the general attitude for both of us was sunshine and radiance. And we got to that point, and I've been saying to people along the way, especially guys that were struggling, that looked like I did last year, look, come on, you're getting to a point you're going to really struggle here, but pick your head up. People are going to start chanting your name. He's going to get emotional. You're going to really struggle, but put a smile on, just power through it. And I did see a few people who did that, and as they came across the line, they just burst out in like the emotions. And it's so sad because you want to just go and you want to console them, but at the same time, I was there with Elodine. She did such a good job. I'd miscalculated. I'd said to her, "We've got a kilometer to go." I'd miscalculated. We had a kilometer and a half to go, and the last gave it leather. She powered and she powered and she powered, and I was pointing at the camera people. They had so many photographers. I'm like, camera to the left, camera to the right. I've been pointing them out the whole course. We've got some really good photos. So I've just bought mine. I've got some really nice ones of Elodie. I'm going to pass to her so she doesn't have to necessarily buy them. But she came to the last push. And I think I mentioned it in the episode where you interviewed me. Edinburgh's funny because it finishes in this kind of big kind of grassed area. So they put metal sheets across the ground, and as you're running on it, they do this weird kind of wave effect, so you feel it ricocheting back up your leg. It feels like you're running on a bouncy castle. And I get her to power and power and power, and she could feel this knocking it back on her. And I think just the amount of effort, encouragement that I'd done for her, she comes across the line, stops her watch, and she's not gonna, I don't think she'll mind me telling anyone this, but the first person comes up, they could tell the colour drained from her face, and they come up with the old upside down hat, a sick ball. Do you need a sick ball? No, I'm okay. 2 seconds later, another woman could see the signs. Do you need a sick ball? No, I'm fine. I'm okay. She gets to the end of the tent, just at the finish, and just all the water that she'd just taken in comes right back out again. I felt so bad for having pushed her to the point of that. And she said to me, 5 hours was sub 5 hours was the goal, but it wasn't life and death. And I said to her, but we were so close to it. If you'd not hit that sub 5 and you were a couple of seconds off, you would have been devastated. And I can gladly say she got a 4 hour 57 and 57. So she got her sub 5. She did amazingly. I know that she, as I say, she could have done it without me, but it was so nice to be able to be there with her, to be able to give her the company. And when she got a little bit emotional at the end, to give her a big hug, and just sit with her until the rest of the Dibber crew came along. And just it was so nice just to be able to share that celebration. And it wasn't just a PB for her, it was a PB for Giz as well. As I say, Giz was only 3 kilometers behind us. She absolutely smashed her PB, but also her half marathon PB. It was so nice. And before we kind of, you might want to ask some questions on it, but you can see in the notes, so like my notes here of PBs and just people that are running. And this isn't everyone, but I'm not going to do a shout out this episode because it's a finale, but just like the half marathon, we had Jamie _ runs. He's mostly dibbers. These are mostly people in the team, not everyone, but some most of them. So Jamie got a 3-minute personal best in his half marathon. Stuart, who we've previously shouted out, Stuart runs a lot. He got a 7-minute PB in his half marathon. Sarah Homer, who's going to be a future guest of ours, Sarah _ runs. She got not only a PB in her half, but also in her 10-kilometer. And I said to her, like to her face, and she knows I mean it in a loving way, because I've got a massive respect for Sarah, but she's a professional bitch because she, like me, every time I go out, I set a PB. So does she. I mean, it's to and fro. We saw Alex _ runs and stuff. He was out the night before with us. He was drinking, and so I think the frozen mojito did great for him. That was his third fastest half marathon. Kaylee, who's been absolutely smashing out events recently, the Ultra X Scotland and umpteen marathons. So she's, I think everyone knows by now, the _happy diet. We had Ian _does _outdoor _ stuff. He was with the cheer squad some early hours after finishing the half marathon. Peta, I didn't actually get to meet Peta, unfortunately, or Peta, or I always forget exactly how to say her name, but Peta.nc n.c _runs _ and Fiona, who I didn't know that was her name before, because all I knew was she _runs _ she _bakes. That's Fiona. They had fantastic half marathons. By that point, it was warm. It wasn't like killer warm like a lot of us drumstick squashies, as we all have referred to ourselves, were, but a quickie kind of burn down here. Again, as I say, Steve can see my notes, so he knows it's a big old. This is why I was quiet during the interview with Steve. This is because it's a lot of talking for me. But the marathon, we had Elodie, like we've already said, so that's. And I feel bad because Elodie has said we haven't shouted her out properly before, and I thought we had, but I think she really is deserving of all the love that I want to give her for this episode. And she's at runs _ curls _ and _ chocolate _ buns. I mean, there's no reason. That's the reason I haven't shouted out before. The name, her Instagram name is so long.
It's a monster name, isn't it?
It is. I've already mentioned Giz. We also had Davey, who's part of the Dibbers. Davey had a fantastic race, and that's Davey is DWR 1982. On to our last episode guest, and I think this is important to mention. So Ryan had mentioned he had his A goal, his B goal, his C goal, but whatever he got, he wasn't going to be disappointed. So Ryan, as everyone knows, host of the Press Play and Run podcast, or known as Scottish _ runner. He got his B goal, which was a sub 3:30, and I'm pretty sure off the top of my head it was like a 3:29 he got. He found it really difficult. Being he has the Moroccan sunset complexion, man, he really did struggle with the heat. Jace, who was running Jace Woods, who was running with them, with Ryan, the Edinburgh _ runner, a fantastic run as well. It was lovely to meet his pals, Abby and Jason. They came up for the Inverness half marathon. Bob Burrell, unfortunately, such a nice man. He had originally thought he'd run with myself and Elodie and Giz, but he had a bit of a resurgence. His knee injury was going well, and he thought he would try push a PB. And sadly, we met Bob at the 21-kilometer mark, and he'd just pulled out. He was walking back, so he unfortunately didn't finish. He was still in good spirits. He knows it is what it is, and he's got more races to come back, and he can always come back to Edinburgh and smash his PB. We also had George, who's at Easy Miles, a big advocate for the podcast. He's been in the DMs. Such a smiley man. Again, I didn't get a chance to meet him, but he absolutely smashed it out in a fantastic similar running top. It was the No Club Run Club top that Elodie was wearing. George had it on too. It looks fantastic. Who else have we got? We have Stephen, another fantastic Stephen. I think Glasgow-based runner, and he's at Running with Stephen, all one. He got a 14-minute PB in his marathon. He also has a YouTube channel, so it's well worth going and seeing his recap of the marathon. The cheer crew from the Dibbers and their signs, they have made the cut. They're in his vlog. Finally, however, we have Nikki. Again, Nikki is a big fan of the podcast, and it was Nikki's first marathon. I think I mentioned her last week, and that's Nick Knack Mara Runs. She was accompanied by her fantastic coach, and who's also the coach of the previously mentioned Jamie. That's Bainsy, and he's got both of his accounts, run_with_Bainsy or RWB_coaching. And I met them just before one of my Portaloo visits, and then I met them again, and she was, I would say, not unfairly in a mentally bad place. She found it difficult, and we mentioned this in the interview with Steve. She was disappointed in not necessarily herself or how it went, but she did mention, and this is something that everyone should really take some time to consider, because people don't think this way. None of us are thinking this way, but I understand why she thinks it. She thinks that, or at least when she came over the line, she had that thought of other people in the community, like myself, like Steve. We've seen how strong her training's been, and she feels that we know that she could have done better than she did. And that's not what anyone's thinking. None of us, nobody who is a decent human being is ever thinking that.
No.
And I feel that it's unfair on herself to think that anyone is. Nobody is. We're just so happy that she got around, and there are a lot of people who didn't get around. They didn't even get halfway, and she got her medal. She got her first marathon done. Both me and Steve have had the issue with the first marathon, and we've come back and we've done a lot better from it. It's a lesson. It's a learning curve, and you can only you can run your first marathon. Nobody can run it for you. You have to learn it yourself. But none of us are thinking that. We're just very, very pleased for you, Nikki, and you should be too. And I know you can't do a marathon anytime soon. You've done one. You've joined the 1% club. And you can certainly do one in the future when work and family aren't so pressing, because they are your priorities at the end of the day. Running it should always be the second. It should never be the first. So no, just know that we aren't thinking that way. We are very supportive, and we can't kind of lift you up any higher. You did fantastically, and it was a really tough day. It was probably the toughest day I've run ever. How hot that was for 4 or 5 hours out running in that, and a little bit longer, and even the start of the day, it was hard.
Yeah, do you know what? That's one of those things that really grinds my gears, is when people potentially act in a way. And listen, it's sometimes we say things to people that we don't really think of what that sentence or they're saying potentially impacts the other person. You know, because you didn't achieve your target, but you trained really hard for it. How do you not achieve it? And you're thinking, well, because the training is basically what people need to remember. The training for the marathon puts you in the best position to complete the marathon. It's not if you do all these sessions at this speed, you're guaranteed you're going to get this. The rate, the day is the day. Whatever happens will happen.
Yeah.
Your training is not about getting you across the line in a certain time. Yes, you need to do a certain volume if you've got a certain goal-specific target, but you could do a standard X amount of miles every week for 16 weeks, for example, or longer, your choice, or shorter. But the training is aimed at getting you from point A to point B. Simple as, done.
Yeah.
And anything in between. Simple as. So those difficult sessions that you have during training, that gears you up mentally for the day. the speeds you do. Say, well, I know I can run this speed, and I know I can drop back as well. There's no such thing as a bad time at a marathon in terms of what you finish in. Every marathon time is a good marathon time because you've taken your body, mind, and soul from 0 to 26.2.
Yeah, and it's past the point you'll ever do in your training, quite substantially more than the past the point you'll ever do in training.
It is. That's an interesting comment because there is a lot of different thoughts around there of what's the maximum you go to in terms of training your mileage in any one given run. Now, no one does 26.2.
No, no, no. You should never do that.
No, no.
I,
I think the most I'd done was scheduled to be 22. I
yeah,
think in the end, I don't actually think I got it done because I think my daughter was unwell, so I sort of had to do the miles sort of spread out between 2 days. Still got the miles in for the week, but I had to adapt it. But I got two 20-milers and a couple of 19s and 18s and finished them so strong that it gave the confidence to go, okay, you just got to put it on. This that famous, well, do 30K and then you've only got 10K to go. Yeah, that 10K hurts.
yeah, and I think that's generally the what if you're working in kilometers, the general consensus I think from a lot of articles and a lot of training plans is you don't really do more than 32 kilometers. You can if you really want, if you want to push a little bit more, but you shouldn't. You should never do anywhere near the marathon distance. But
no, you shouldn't really because it's not productive. You're going to get nothing out of it. They're
no,
just dead miles.
yeah,
The one thing that I've learned from, again, you learn from every marathon. I've only done two, but the time on feet. You laughed and said only, didn't you?
no, no, yes, because I've also seen our friends' names coming up. But also, when you said I've only done two, I've just thought back to what Strava told me. It goes, well done, that's your third fastest marathon. I went, oh, good going, Strava. That's my third marathon.
Yeah. It's you learn everything, every single one. There's no such thing as a bad time, and everyone is out there. No one on that course is judging you. Anyone that's put on a pair of trainers to run is not judging you, and the ones that want to be judgy from the sidelines haven't got the minerals to do what you've just done. So
That's it.
for anyone that doesn't know what minerals means.
I did, yeah, and stones. I did hear a couple of young lads. Now they probably would have been like 12, 13, and they were being super disrespectful, being like, "Oh, you're running a marathon, yet you're walking." And it's one of those ones you just want to say, turn around to go, "Here you wee shite," and excuse my expletive, but here you wee shite. Shut your bloody mouth.
If that was me, I probably would have turned around and said something. And
Nah.
you shouldn't, because they're kids.
But that's why I didn't, because they are kids, and you just get a mouthful back anyway.
I'll be like, which one's your dad? Who's your dad? Let me talk to your dad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's just one of those things. But then you get kids are going to be kids, and maybe one day they're going to. But it's so annoying because someone's put their heart and soul and all of their time. You've not potentially not gone to parties. You've not had alcohol. Not alcohol is the most important thing in the world, but
no, but you've cut a lot of good times out because you're training. But on the good times, the cheer squads all around the course, the bands, and you get this at London because you've mentioned it as well. You got the Macmillan crew had a band. There was all these different. There was drummers. There was brass sections. The people, and we did say Edinburgh itself felt very quiet. There's certain areas felt very, very quiet in comparison to last year. And then we got down to Portobello, the promenade, and the number of people out having a good time, cheering, having a drink. It was so
it's beautiful, isn't it?
It Honestly, was the environment.
It's breathtaking.
And there was, and I had to mention it because I'm going to mention our own cheer crew. But there was these two guys, they had the Mario
Yeah.
music playing, and they had the star, the power up. So I ran up like Waluigi, kind of knees high, dancing towards them and slammed the thing. It was like I was doing what you said you didn't want to do. I was high fiving all the kids because I had the
Yeah,
energy.
I
I
feel
wasn't going
I
my normal speed. I had the energy to burn.
yeah, it's I do you know what? I think my first marathon, the first sort of 4 or 5 miles, I was high-fiving everyone. Bosh, have some of that. And then part of what I learned during training was trying to be um
You can
economical with my energy reserves.
conservation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was trying so rather than doing that, I was waving a little wave of smiles. Thank you, thank you. I thought that equal. I didn't ignore people because that's bloody rude. You know, they're giving up hours of their Sunday to cheer a random stranger who's gone out for a long. We've basically gone out for a massive long run,
That's it.
and everyone said, "Oh, you're doing really well." So you say
That's it.
thank you, you say thank you and everything else. You say thank you to every single volunteer you go past.
Well,
It's
I say
anyone that
I
doesn't is
thanked
rude.
every marshal.
Everyone.
I thanked the people, and it was quite funny because of most of it I was with Giz and Elodie. It was like Giz was on the inside, then Elodie was in the middle, and I was on the outside, and you could see the people looking at Giz's name, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to pronounce that in case I pronounce it wrong." And then look at Elodie and go, "I don't want to pronounce that in case I pronounce it wrong." So every time it was like, "Go, Stephen!" I'm like, "Woo!" And Elodie's like, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to go. The next person that says it is say my name, bitch. And I felt so sorry for Giz because nobody wanted to say jizz or jism. And I could understand that. It was so good, but I felt so sorry. But she did say there were a lot of people that did get her name right. But that just all the way out, the first section was quite quiet, and it was maybe quite good that it was quite quiet. By the time we got to Portobello and Port Seaton, and even as far out as the bends before the turn off, there was a lot of people. There was a lot of good support. It kept a lot of people going. And when you get to that final push, you're never going to get nearly as many people as you get at the big marathons, your Manchesters, your Londons. But they're banging on the barriers, they're cheering your name, and it's just so nice, and it just the noise and the atmosphere. Now I struggled with it last year because I wasn't in a good place, but this year I just took it all in, and I was thanking everyone. I'll share the photos. I can just see the big smile, and thankfully looking back, even though I pushed her, Elodie is smiling, but. Just to move it on a little bit and give some more context so we can get on to the interview with Steve. But I mentioned before there was a guy in a rhino outfit, and he passed us really early on. A guy in an alien outfit, someone in a Cookie Monster outfit, someone in a Teletubby outfit. There was a few more, but we saw this guy really early on in a rhino outfit, and I looked him up. His name's Chris, and he's known as at Rhino Boy Chris, and he is absolutely, looking at his profile, he is an absolute legend. Now, it was so hot, like I've already mentioned, at Edinburgh, and it looks like a fairly weighty outfit, but it turned out that was his 75th marathon in that costume, and he's doing it all for the awareness of saving endangered rhinos and just raising funds as well, because he had a money pot strapped to the horn. If you get a chance, anyone just go look at Rhino Boy Chris. He is so cool, and I had a little chat with him in the DMs. We might get him in the future. I don't think the What the Fartlick guys have had him on in the past. I could be wrong. They would do him justice. They've had someone he ran with, the Minion, the running Minion. They had both the Minion and the Rhino ran together at Manchester. Honestly, it's just so cool to see like someone like that. And it was so nice to see someone that stuck in my head last year. There was a young lady, very, very, very disabled, just before probably around about the 10-mile mark. And last year she had one person dressed as a stormtrooper with her, squirting people with a water pistol. This year she had two stormtroopers and someone else pushing her. It was so nice to see her there again, supporting everyone. But before we move on, I do want to touch on our good friend Emma at Lipstick and Trainers for having a different event, not the Edinburgh Marathon this year for her, but Ride London 100, the 100 miler, so 160 kilometers. There was a lot of people were riding that at the weekend. So she absolutely smashed that, and like everyone did. Again, an absolutely horrendous weekend for riding. The heat and the tanning was going to be something else. And she has another triathlon. She's done a few smaller triathlons, I think now, and she has a triathlon coming up this weekend. So anyone that follows Emma, and again, that's Lipstick and Trainers, drop her a message, let her know that you're supporting her, behind her, and that she's going to smash it, because she is. And as myself and Steve have already mentioned, we were discussing it, and we mentioned in previous episodes, we were keen to get Emma on. Emma's keen to come on and speak to us. We're just going to get a date sorted, or we'll get a recording in the diary with her. But it'd be great to find out about her triathlons, other podcasts, what the Fartlek guys have had her on in the past to talk about run through and her running journey. It would be really good to touch on what her current adventure is: triathlon, cycling, running, swimming. Have a slightly different angle on it. So that's really cool. But finally, I'm getting there slowly but surely. And everyone will be glad to know you'll hear a lot more of Runner Man Steve in the interview. I need to cover the cheer squad. I would be rude not to, because as I say, a lot of them ran the half marathon. Not all of them did, but they were out from the early hours of the morning, like 9 a.m, until quite late on in the day, till the sun was almost going down. It was so well organized. The signs that they made were hilarious. Their banter, and it wasn't just for us, it was for every runner. They saw so many people they know and so many people they didn't. They got messages afterwards from people they didn't know who were like thanking them for their support. They know who they are, but I have to shout them out. And we've got Lee, and for anyone that doesn't know, he's control_alt_Delhi. We've got Rachel, who Steve's previously shouted out, and that's Rachel McPherson with 2 N's. We have the fantastic author, and I had a lovely chat with her on the train back to Edinburgh, and I'm going to keep calling her an author because I thought I got it wrong last time, but she does prefer it over journalist, and that's Susan Swarbrick Dimmick. Then we had Sarah, the professional runner bitch, Sarah_runs, Alex_runs and stuff, Ian_does_outdoor_stuff, the_happy diet for Kaylee, and Stuart runs a lot. They absolutely kicked ass with the cheer squad. And then I can't forget her, Emily_in the outdoors, with her sign and being accompanied by Alison Jordan and Ryan's wife as well. I think it's Nicola. They were so great for not only our encouragement, but for everybody. I mean, I would be really amiss to not shout everyone out. But I think I'm pretty much there now with the absolute torrential verbal diarrhea that's just been an Edinburgh Marathon digest.
Well, the only thing that I've just been thinking of while doing this, like, is it a rite of passage in Scotland to use the underscore?
I know, man. It's so. Oh, jeez. Everyone. Do I have it? Yeah, I do.
I just lumped it all. Run up, man, Steve. Done.
Yeah, I know. I have thought about changing it actually, but yeah.
I didn't realize how many people up there actually have underscores.
I would say Elodie does live in Scotland, but she is French.
And well, by proxy.
That was quite. Now you've made me mention this. It was really. I don't think I've already mentioned this because I've mentioned a lot and I lost track. But if I have, I apologize. If I haven't, here we go. Elodie thought she was. I think I may have mentioned it last night. Elodie thought she was. She was hallucinating French people, but there was a lot of French and Belgian speakers. So when she was running along, her brain was trying to translate French, her native tongue, but also listening to the English around her. So she did say at one point, she goes, "Hey, there are French people around here, aren't there?" I'm like, "Well, you tell me. You're the French person." Um, so and
Um, yeah.
Lee was dressed. No, he did. No, he wasn't dressed as French. He kind of had a French look, but he had a French sign specially made for Elodie. And a French lady came up and said, "Oh, that's fantastic. Can I take a photo?" And he said, "Yes, you can take a photo." So she took a photo of him with his sign, and she goes away. And then he sees this Frenchman running with a French flag, and he goes, "Allez, allez, allez!" And the woman hadn't gone very far. She comes back to him. She goes, "Excuse me, are you French?" And he's like, "No," but she's like putting him on some sort of like public. What is it? There's a website for a newspaper or something in France. He's going to feature on it now. It was a great thing to happen. They were just so well
Oh,
deserving of it. But
right.
honestly,
It looked super fun from the online. I thought all these all these people that conversed through what I know, obviously through yourself and through the podcast and whatnot, just to see it looked like the gang getting together, and
yeah,
it looked super friendly. Um, so yeah, no, it did look great. It did look
the
great.
cult did a great job.
The cult. I
The
think I am
cult.
the only one not in the cult. I'm the only one. I'm far enough away to not be in the cult.
Well, before we get talking about the cult too much, are we gonna? Do you want to jump over to the interview and then we can chat about the cult?
Should we do like a little sound effect?
That's what we'll do. That's what we'll do.
So, our guest this episode for our final of the season is someone who I met at Greenwich Station ahead of London Marathon 2022, and he has become someone I now gladly call a friend. He is someone who was high on my list of people to have on as a guest, as he is a shot of positive energy into the running community, but deserving of the prized finale guest spot. As we've tried to channel good vibes, positivity, and motivation, we know that this man will 100% kick things up a notch and surpass our efforts from the entire season in just one episode. Of course, he's called Steve, aka Steve runs LDN. So, Steve, how you doing, mate?
What an intro. Gosh, I feel like I should have taken one of those caffeine gels to sort of get me ready and rearing, ready and going. Like, buzz in, everybody buzz in, excited. The one thing you did admit is that we met last year, which was great. And then this year you stalked me up the elevator out of, I
Yeah, I
think
was
it
like,
was
yeah, it's like
Don't worry, Steve. We already know that Steve hangs around car parks looking for
car
fast
park.
friends.
there was yeah, no, it's thank you very, very much for your high praise.
No, it is true. We very spookily bumped into each other on the escalator at the station for 2023 as well. It's almost like the running universe go you two together off your pop. And so yeah, so thanks for joining us before you fly off to Beefer. How are you doing? Has the legs come back to life after your mega effort at Hackney Half? You look so strong at mile 12, man. So
Oh,
strong.
thank you very much. I think I mean, we'll see how this goes in terms of flow. So sorry if I'm a bit all over the place, but Hackney Half, epic race for me. I PB'd, super proud of that. I think it's one of the first times I've had a race where the strategy all came together. The run I wanted to happen happened. The weather was kind to me. I had a very good buddy of mine kindly offered to pace me round as well, which helped. But yeah, the legs, they're feeling okay. I think I'm glad to have nothing serious on a calendar for a good couple of months now. So I'm going to have a bit of a reprieve in June. Just miles for me, right? Mindful miles, some 5K, some soft stuff. we bumped into each other the other night at track where I took flip flops because I cannot trust myself. I've got running trainers on.
You did.
I'll go for a run. I'll absolutely go for a run, and I just can't. I've got no discipline in that respect. So yeah, I made sure to take a nice little gentle walk, and we were having a chat, talking about Hackney, did the medal reflections and such, which was wonderful. But yeah, feeling good, my friend, feeling strong.
Yeah, I tell you one thing. He turned up in flip flops. I went, this man means serious business of not going overboard today. I thought he's on a mission. He committed to it.
Now, we can't say that too much because we've got Barefoot Ben, the Barefoot Daddy, coming on in the future, and he'll be saying, well, so what if you've got flip flops? Just go barefoot.
Oh man, let the Barefoot Daddy hit me up like this. Teach me the secrets.
No, it was really good at Track and Core the other day. Actually, I'm really looking forward to going there. I'm looking forward to being able to actually run with them as well once this issue is resolved. So obviously, as Steve mentioned, Steve knows Steve. I've purposely not asked certain questions in times we have been in each other's company because I sort of wanted it to be on the podcast and me to hear certain things maybe for the first time, because we have been limited in what we've spoken about. Invariably, we've shared an audience at Track and Core. We've gone on a fast run around the London Stadium. One thing I always like to do is to go to the beginning of the journey of when you started your running journey and why you started it so consistently.
Yeah, sure, bud. So mine is one that began, gosh, I have to do my maths now. So it coincides with my youngest daughter's birthday, so December 2014. I turned 30 the month after, so January 2015, and was having terrible heart palpitations and was just like, this can't be right. Like, I'm rigged up to a flipping ECG, and they're telling me I look at doing your BMI and such, and they put me in the obesity category. Which, bear in mind, that's kind of just a scale, right? So like that can be, you could be very healthy and still be classified as obese. But like, I was 19 stone. I was eating too much, was a greedy bastard, doing no exercise, and it just really frightened me and woke me up, because they were talking about like the implications of being obese is not so much your appearance, because people are made in all different shapes and sizes, and actually what that does to your body. And I was thinking, at such a young age, man, I'm 30 years old. I've just got a brand new born second daughter. Like, I'm going to crash and burn and die one day, but I don't want it to be for reasons that I can control. So I turned initially to swimming for about 6 months to a year, because I had some, and I still do, some body image, like consciousness things, which may sound utterly ridiculous for a runner or somebody who tries to get themselves in shape, but always super mindful of my body. Didn't like how I looked naked, very overweight. But a swimming pool kind of solves that problem, because your head's underwater, so you don't get too sweaty. Nobody can see your body once you've skipped out the changing rooms. It's nice and gentle, light cardio, and puts you in a relatively good position. So I was doing that for about 6 months to a year, and seeing some weight loss and enjoying it. I thought, you know what? I saw a friend of mine in a similar predicament, a guy called Gary Scullion, who is an amateur filmmaker, and he dropped a ton of weight through running. And I remember thinking, why don't I give that a go? So if I recall rightly, the first ever run I went on, I took my dog at the time. He's since crossed Rainbow Road, but our old boxer dog Murphy, for I want to say a 2K walk/jog round the block, and thought, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Why does anybody do this? But yeah, the positive side of that, it all gets better thereafter, right? Get your first run done,
Yes.
you feel absolutely fine, right? And I remember going out in a pair of shoes that my old boss said to me, he's like, did Timmy Mallet lose those? And I was like, had no idea, like most people, you're new to running, you're enthusiastic, you kind of want to do your couch to 5K, went down to the shop, picked the brightest ones, assuming that every kind of leisure wear pair of trainers is fit for purpose, end up destroying my knees. But kind of, like it was a very transformative process for me. I dropped a load of weight, I felt better, I was enjoying what running was doing for my mental health. And depending on where this conversation goes, I'll be quite frank and just as a trigger warning for your listeners, like it does get dark at times, or there was darkness, and running has saved me in that respect. But I guess that was the entry point. It's been 8 years, and I would say probably the last 3 years I've decided to take things seriously and kind of redefine myself a little bit and go, don't be a junk miles runner. Go out there and kind of get involved.
Now, I'll just jump in here because you mentioned something that's quite common, I would say, within the community, especially within guys, but you see it from the women as well. And the reason a lot of people start running or start the fitness is because of body image, and I certainly have that too. I can sympathize wholeheartedly with you. There's some days you look in the mirror and it can be completely stupid because nowadays I like to think I'm fairly well toned. I'm not built. I'm not physically built, but I'm toned. And then some days you look in the mirror and you're like, you don't like the look of yourself. But it's certainly got. I'm training a friend just now for exactly the same reason. He doesn't like the way he looks. He's wanting to drop some weight, and I think that's probably the most common way that people get into running. But then you're right; it's all to do with the mental health side as well. And that kind of is a question for me then is, when you're running, that's your therapy. But if you don't run for, let's say, a short spell of time, do you find you adversely suffer for not having run?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I kind of see it both ways. So there's some good, and I'll probably be name dropping every club under the sun down here, but it's Run Talk Run by Jess, and it's like a mental health running group. And I'm sure she put out a note on her Instagram story along the lines of just remembering that running is therapeutic, not therapy.
Yeah.
That's coming from somebody who's been through therapy. And like I would say, that's not to discourage anybody, but do both. Don't just lean on one over the other. But certainly, yeah, absolutely for me, if I've not been for a run, you'll know it. Like I'm a flipping nightmare. Like, if I've not been running, I'm on my toes. The brain starts doing its washing machine routine, like a million thoughts a minute. So like I need running, and I am grateful for running. And what a fantastic byproduct. It's now become the other way. So like I used it to help manage my mental well-being and wellness, and as a byproduct of that I get some residual fitness out of it, as opposed to the origin story. But completely you're completely right. When people turn to running initially, they just don't realize how brilliant it can be for them if they persevere.
That's it. And you know what, it's what you get from being outside. The only tech you'll use is what you watch on your headphones, and sometimes not even that. You're not distracted by a TV, you're not distracted by scrolling through your phone. It's nice just to be out there. Doesn't matter what the elements are. Doesn't matter. And you can enjoy your own company, your own thoughts. But then you can, and what I'm learning, and it's thanks to your CC, is getting involved with people. Scottish Steve, I should say. Listen, when we was in track and core, there's something I didn't actually ever think about. I think it was Mo said it, Steve, when he said, we're all adults, and how often do you get to make friends as an adult, new friends, genuine new friends that have interest other than drinking at the pub? You might talk to them and see them at a couple of football games here and there, which was that stuck with me. I don't know about you, Steve, but that stuck with me. It's so true.
Mate, so absolutely.
I started running, obviously, to deal with, like so many people, pandemic, work stresses, and it sort of just stuck. It's now a lifestyle. It's not a hobby no more. And now my role, I feel, because I've had from yourself and many other people, and what I'm going to get out of Track and Core and any other groups like Tracksmith is, well, now it's my turn to give back and welcome someone else into the fold and feel that snowball effect. So we start for one reason and we end up staying for a completely different reason.
Very well said.
Yeah,
and and you're right about what Mo said. He completely. So as Motion Stars, he looks after Track and Core. He's one of the co-captains, I believe the founder. But Mo was talking about that making friends and also cheering one another. We're adults. It sounds tough, but so many guys get into that. You're in your 30s, your 40s, you've got a lot of life responsibilities, and you kind of going through life like a zombie day to day, not consciously engaging with anyone or anything. And I get that is down to work and family and all the other responsibilities you have. But to actually be stood there and someone clap for you or cheer for you or talk to you or show an interest to you, and to build a friendship around a new common interest. And legacy friends are wonderful. I'm going to Ibiza with a bunch of them, and I wouldn't trade them for the world, because they've been through me before I was Steve Runs London, right? As in, like, they knew the guy, and I'm not fundamentally that much different, but they've helped me at my lowest. They brought me up, and they still cheer me on through the running. They haven't got a fucking clue about the running stuff. They all I've been told is, they said in Ibiza, consider it, trying going for like your drinking PB, was about the sort of advice they could go for. So I was like, cheers, guys.
Oh, I'm not going nowhere near my drinking PB. That was, I don't know, I'm still alive to myself. So outside of the efforts, Steve, that you do put into running community, which we'll get onto in more depth shortly, what's been your most satisfying running experience and or moment? And on the flip side, what's been your worst?
Oh man, so I've got a love-hate relationship with the London Marathon I've developed very recently. So I guess the love part is that I got to participate last year. Um, my absolute favorite moment, I've got a great video which I'll share with you guys, is seeing both my daughters in, I think it was
I think
the
I
Isle of
saw that
Dogs.
one. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
my poor eldest, like, what the video doesn't show is I pretty much clatter her, because she sort of arms out, and I'm forgetting that I'm running, just sort of steaming. And fortunately, she didn't go into one. I get sad, and it looks super cute, but bless her. But yeah, I would say, like, absolute fondest memories is definitely for my daughters. My ex-wife brought the kids up to see me run the London Marathon, and they came away having a super day. Like, they're still not sold on running. They're more horse riding girls, but they absolutely made made my London Marathon, just for them to see their dad get the chance to tackle the 26.2. But then, London, mate, London 2023. Gosh, so much to kind of say. I guess let me start on the positive before I answer you. My worst bit is the positive from it is, I would say I probably had my most fun day in running ever. Right, so many crews, faces, the vibes were amazing. But my personal race just went off the rails after mile 15. Like, it was the stuff of nightmares. One of those, like, if I could have woken up the next day and had a chance to do it all over again, I would. I mean, I felt genuinely good. I'd put the training in. We'd done 100 days program. I was in top form for this. I was injury free. I'd been eating well. You name it. What was going through my head, I was like, okay, I'm going to now a certain time, and that would have been smashing a PB. And it just, the wheels came off. I ran with one of the guys that comes to Tracksmith with us, Mark, and we got round, I think, past mile 15, and his legs started falling apart, and my fueling strategy just went to pot. So I'm fortunate in that, like, without sounding crude, it never goes through me, but it just comes back up. And there was a pit stop somewhere between 15 and 16 where Marcus got cramp, and I'm stretching him out. And then I'm just having to say to him, hang on a second, dude, go around the corner to be sick. And I just thought to myself, this isn't how it should be happening. So, yeah. And then sadly, come back to I've got such a supportive crew and team around me at Tracksmith. And to go back to the clubhouse, I know it's you versus you. I really wanted to take that medal back and be proud of my time, and just, like, had a beautiful day, wouldn't swap it, but the time got away from me. And so, I would say the most. So I'm going to leave London alone for the time being. I'm done with London for a little bit. There's a few detours, which no doubt we'll touch upon, and then maybe a London redemption down the road.
I'm going to jump in here again, because it was actually something that came up from Sunday's marathon myself. And it's one of our listeners, Nikki, and her race didn't go quite to plan, like yourself with London. It didn't go quite to plan. And nobody's saying anything about it. She did, it was her first marathon. She did phenomenally well. But she did say she felt like she knows that she could have done better, and she knows that we know that she had it in her. But it's just the day. Do you feel that that was maybe part of it as well? Because like you say, you wanted to go back to the clubhouse, you wanted to have the medal, you wanted to have smashed your PB. And are you subconsciously kind of thinking, or even consciously thinking, they know that I have it in me to do it and I didn't do it?
Yeah. And no one's disappointed because, like,
No,
running really
exactly.
is you versus you. Like, so it's not, there's no competition there. Like, as in, I'm not trying to go against one of my teammates or pacers or friends. It was just more, that I kind of put some good, healthy pressure on me. I was bantering in our pacer group about, I'm going to chase this person, or if I do this, I get a free top, or, all like really fun and games to incentivize. And I remember, so Jerry's son is a wonderful photographer. I cannot praise him enough for how he makes me look incredible. But he said to me, and it just off the cuff, it was like, "Oh yeah, we wonder where you got to." Like, and he didn't mean it in a nasty sense, but obviously they had in their head what time I'd roughly be there. They know my start pen, know roughly when I come through, and they just, I guess, almost like clock watching, like, where does he come through? And I just the images. I think the caption I'd wrote on my Instagram post was like, don't let these images fool you. This was not my. I'm sort of like posing for the camera here. I knew my race was run by the time I got up to 24.5
Yeah.
or 24 for my thing. But yeah, so it's healthy pressure there. It's just, some days that happens, mate. It's the marathon, right? This is
Yeah.
26 miles. Like, I think we all have to remember that, like, even the best. Look at Kipchoge, did Boston this year. People are saying, oh, he's written off for coming eighth or whatever he finished. I was like, the guy just had a bad day at the office. And like, it hasn't diminished the GOAT in any which way possible. Now,
Not
that's
at all.
probably, I'm obviously not comparing myself to Kipchoge beyond the fact that both of us dislike the rain. That's about the comparisons.
Do you
Oh,
know what? I loved the conditions of London this year. Absolutely loved it.
but
Again,
that comparison, it still rings true because by all accounts, his failing in a sense was a hydration issue, and you're saying for yourself it was your fueling. So it happens to the best of us, and it happens to everyone at some point in a marathon adventure.
yeah.
It's just you just got to really ride that wave and realize that nobody else apart from yourself is going, you should have done better or you could have done better, because
Yeah,
nobody is saying that.
and I had a really fortunate, I'm lucky to get like a moment of Coach Emirates time, and we'll touch on Coach Emirates, a bit of a fan, as you'll probably come to hear. And he just said to me, he's like, dude, just take him as lessons. And I said, make sure you try and avoid repeating those lessons, work harder. The marathon will never give you it. And he's like, that's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up. Just keep working harder. And, we know you've got it in you. Like, just believe and apply, keep going through the process, which I thought was a really nice kind of way to do it. And even then, like, I took some reflections. It's only to answer that question. It's not something that's been sitting on my mind. Like, I know I can and I will do better, and I have that redemption story written there. And then, but even then, it's only going to matter to me because you guys will be happy for me. But
Exactly.
no one's particularly impressed if you hit, unless you hit a sub 2 in a world major. No one's that impressed. No one's that impressed by my times.
I mean, yeah, after the first marathon, and your friends or family are just like, oh, it's just another marathon. Who cares? You can run one. You've proved that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it is true. Like, the marathon will just, doesn't matter how well your training block has gone. Doesn't matter if you've hit every session. The day is the day, and you've just got, what have you got mentally and within yourself to push through it? Do you want it enough? And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I'm just going to coast around it. I got around to mile 20 coasting the pace so consistently. Cramp hit. I thought, well, the sub 3:30 is gone. I know it's gone mentally, so I'm just going to really just plod around and take in the.
But that's what you've got to do. I don't want to hijack you here because yes, Sunday was that for me. You know that I had injury worry. I had 3 weeks of training. Literally, that's all I had, 3 weeks of training. And I had this dread that I'm not even going to get around. I'm not going to even get halfway. I've really screwed myself over here royally. But I was there to pace for other people. I woke up in the morning and all the nerves were gone. I had no doubt. I got down to the start line and we got it done for the person I was pacing for. I'm being vague here because it'll be covered later on in the podcast. But Yeah, it really goes down to that mental battle as well of some days you can, some days you can't. And for me, it was a big battle going into it, but got around it, just cruised it, had a great time, stopped and chatted umpteen times to our support crew. And you've just got to really ride that wave, as I say. And maybe it's the best thing for you, Mr. Day, is take a little break from a marathon, just chill, and then when you're ready, you're not then racing yourself as well. You're not putting yourself under any undue pressure to try and have a redemption in a way, and it could backfire.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, lads. And I'm hoping your listeners will take the positives out of this negative.
100%. Like, I think it's something I said to you before and privately, Steve. It's like we win and we learn. We don't lose. You never lose. You learn, and that's the only way you should look at it. It sounds cheesy, but it works. It works. So I've mentioned you are massively involved in the running community, and you're all about helping, giving back. You know, you're not one of these people that go, "Oh, only my crew is the best crew." You go, "No, if you can't get here on a Tuesday, ears on a Wednesday. You can't get a Wednesday, ears on a Thursday. Come out of us on Sunday." Like always, always. So anyone that is listening, and you are in London or anywhere else, because Steve just specialises in run clubs. Who's got what on where? Simple as done. Which is fantastic because it's how I got into to know Track and Core. Well, yourself and somebody else who goes to Track and Core, who I didn't realise was following me, and went, "Have you tried Track and Core? Come down and see us." I was like, oh, "Sweet, okay, I'll be doing that." When was your first involvement with, let's say, your first time rocking up at an event group like Tracksmith, and then when did you think to yourself, "Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm not only just going to turn up, I'm going to champion this," because you're now a pacer with Tracksmith. So obviously there's a start and there's a moment where you thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to champion it. So what was that story? What does it look like for you?
Yeah, man. So there's probably some background to be given, and I'll try and be succinct without confusing to your listeners. So what year are we in now? 2022 ran Brighton Marathon, right? And before I'd signed up for that, I think it was winter 2021, right? If I'm getting my years correct. I've been running pretty much solo all by myself. I had no bloody idea. Like, well, I wouldn't say I've got much of an idea now, but I got better understanding through other people. It's probably a fairer assessment rather than being a know-it-all. And I was on the lookout just for like, okay, how can I find friends through running, right? You know, I want to, I'm taking this more seriously, got all the kit, no idea. And I'd signed up for an app called Buddy Up, which is a bit like running Tinder without all the extra stuff, which is super handy. And I met a very good friend of mine, Kira, who she's bloody brilliant. And for whatever reason, we hit it off through running. We were running together all the time, push, and we both had that suggestion of like, well, you know, we're kind of into spring for Brighton Marathon. Let's see if we can get involved in any of the clubs. You know, have you tried any of the Nike clubs? Have you tried anything in London? I was like, oh, no, I've never really thought to do it because I kind of always assumed from afar that my misunderstanding was that a running club was the same thing as an athletics club, and they're just not.
Yes.
You know, just like running, and that's to take the words straight from Mo Abdin. He said that Coach Mo, he actually said that, use those words, so I can't take claim from them. But it's very true. And what we mean by that is athletics clubs are your Harriers, the guys who are trying to smash out times and really taking it let's say seriously, but it's less community and hobby based and more performance orientated. Maybe the best way to summarize it. So I was always kind of put off because I didn't know, but I was like, you know what? Like, fuck it, basically bite the bullet. Went down to, I think went to Pure Sport first with Kira, and we'd seen everybody getting their photos taken, which is cool because, you know, like with the greatest of respects, I don't think I've ever seen one good photograph from anybody taken at these mass participation marathons. If any of your listeners have got one, send it over. So like, and I was thinking, okay, I've set up my Instagram page. I'd quite like a picture of me running where like I look halfway decent and don't look like I'm dying or 10 years older than I am. So got involved. Pure Sport, started going to the Nike clubs with Coach Lloyd, who is brilliant. And congratulations, Coach Lloyd, because Luton just went up in the Premier League. So he is a very happy bunny at the moment. I think that's the running gods paying him back through the medium of football. So he's super pleased. And unbelievably, because of Chelsea managing to survive the drop, means it'll be Chelsea Luton next year. So we can go watch that together. I realise I've gone a bit off piece.
No,
there. So
go for it, mate. It's what we're here for.
So in terms of involvement, so got involved with Buddy Up, met Kira, got down to Pure Sport, went to the Nike clubs, and it just, I think I started developing this just love or joy of meeting people and seeing people, right? I'd come out of my marriage in 2019. Sorry, I'm a bit spotty around dates. It's not been deliberately ambiguous. I'm just trying to remember when was what. And I was like, okay, I'm in a relationship, but I can't see that person every weekend. So, what's around for run clubs? And I just did a bit of research, found who was around, and you tend to find similar faces. So lots of these people know each other, have been doing it for years, not just me who rocked up in the last 18 months and decided, oh, this place is for me, and found a welcoming spot. But like the involvement, I guess, in terms of the pacing and like seriously, my first person was Coach Lloyd, and that was when he had his short stint over launching the Battersea Run Club, which is now run by Intersar on a Thursday, I think fortnightly on a Thursday, where they do a community 5K. And one of the weeks they didn't have any pacers. So Nike groups usually have a couple of paid pacers turn up, wear the shirt, they'll take a slow group and a fast group, or a better word for slow, but you know what I mean. Is it a sexy pace? There you go, to Nick Pure Sports words. Sexy pace or a bit pace, yeah. And there was no Tom, Dick and Harry there. And he kind of just looked at me, he was like, right, Steve, you can lead the guys around on a 25-minute 5K around Battersea Park, go. And I was like, right. Like I said, it was as straightforward as that, like without exaggeration. I was like, okay, like fine. And when I got round, I think I did it in, I'd have to pull the run up on my phone, but it wasn't far out. It was maybe 25 minutes and 15 seconds, and it was dumb luck, but something like lit in my head. I was like, oh mate, I quite like doing this. I like the responsibility. Yeah. I like, okay, it's funny how that happens, right? Coach Lloyd showed a bit of faith, and because the guys had been running together, Lloyd and Amrit, I'd noticed Amrit had popped up on my Instagram feed as like the new head community manager at Tracksmith. And I was like, oh, hello, because Tracksmith, if any of your listeners are familiar with them, have been based out of Boston since 2014. So it's coming up for their 10-year anniversary next year. And they'd always had like pop-ups in town, but they were going to have a permanent home. And I was like, right, I'm pretty certain they're going to have a run club. This is a dedicated running brand. Yes, it's clothing, but in the States, they have something called the Church of the Long Run. Every Sunday, it's your long run, long miles, paced, etc. I was like, no, I'm just gonna just hit him up, see how he's doing. I've met him already. Like, how you getting? Anything I can do to get involved? He's like, mate, do you want to pace? I was like, hold up, so the thoughts start going, the imposter syndrome starts kicking in, because you've gone from Coach Lloyd asking you to take a relatively few people for a Nike run club on a Thursday night through Battersea, which is, I don't know, a dozen people, if that. It was fine to, right, from November, I need you to take people through the streets of London, and there's probably going to be about 2 dozen of them. There'll be a couple of your paces, but I need you to do 10, 12, 13 miles. I'm like, oh my God. But it just felt like an opportunity just not to say no to. I can't even explain why. Like, I feel like, you said earlier about being put in people's paths and ways. I feel like for me, Amrit really was heaven sent. Like, it just was one of those. It's something that I needed to kick my running on. And I've always been a people person. And like, why wasn't I a running people person before? I've always been the same guy. Like, nothing's changed about me. But why wasn't I involved? Why wasn't I involved with this? So we got rolled around. I think it was like October or November. They did the Turkey Trot, and I think I was the week after, where we did our pilot version of the long run before the 100 Days program come out, which I will explain. And it went really well. went really well. Went with a chap called Pierre. He's not one of our pacers at the moment. I think he's got his own crew with Frontier in London, and I'll send all these different links and names of people if anybody wants to know them. But Pierre, we guided people around the city. I was like, this is fun, and they gave us a free top, and I was like, it's the first time I've ever been given anything for doing running. This is great. You can see why influencers, they get a gifted product and they've got great big grins on their face because they haven't had to pay for it. And also, I felt like part of a team. Yeah, it's been a while, and I wouldn't say that team sports has ever been an attribute of mine. I was the school football captain, but fuck me, our primary school football team was the shits, and I hadn't played like any sort of like we were just abysmal, and I've never really thought of running as a team endeavor. And I mean, I'll save the spoiler for if we get on a chance to talk about 100 days. But yeah, I guess the entry point was that, and then just been getting involved in anything and everything. I've got a lot of free time. I'm a single dad. I do see my daughters regularly, but the rest of the time, always in mental health, I'm in my own head. I may as well be out there enjoying the miles, seeing my people, getting the fresh air. The clubs are free. I think you sometimes have to pay for a few track sessions for that, so they keep the lights on. They're not for profit, guys. As in, your captains are not charging you so they can make a few quid. They're charging you so they can rent the track so they can lead the session. That's all they're asking for. But so yeah, it's a relatively new entrant as of last spring, summer, leading into the autumn, winter season. And frankly, although it wasn't the right time for me prior to that, for various reasons, it felt like it came at the right time. Things were put in my path.
That's that, and sometimes it's just the way it happens. Like we spoke about ourselves, the way we kept bumping into each other randomly, of all the people we could bump into when there's 50 or 1,000 people running it. It just happens. And you're not even looking out for that person. It just happens. I mean, I've met Coach Amrit a couple of times. He's always been super humble, so it makes you want to go back. So, like I said, I've been to Tracksmith twice. I think twice. I went for the London Shakeout and the Hackney Half Shakeout, wasn't it? Both occasions. Obviously, you've gone out of your way to say, "Come meet the Pacers. Come meet this person. This is Steve. This is da 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 da," and that helped massively. Is that something that you consciously do because it happened for you, or is it something that maybe didn't happen? You thought we could improve it even further by if someone takes someone and says, "By the way, this is X person."
Mate, I think some of that's just life stuff, right? Where I've been in places where I felt super uncomfortable and wish someone had come up and spoken to me, and just thought, it wouldn't have killed you to say hi, even if you're not going to become best friends and chat with everybody. And like, I am hyper aware who is being spoken to, not being spoken to, because just, I guess, is in my nature and the way. We are actively encouraged by Coach Emirates to be kind to people. I think, I would say a fair assessment is that we've got some of the best runners in London, but we've got loads of the best people in London for sure. As in, you're near enough guaranteed to meet met with a smiley face if you see a pacer. People are going to treat you with kindness, like a nice chatty miles, because it's hard. Not to be dismissive of the distance of the 5K, because that's still pretty bloody hard. Anybody who's listening to this who's doing their couch to 5Ks, that can feel like a marathon itself. But when you're taking people out and you guys will, anybody who's doing Couch 5K, eventually you'll be doing your Sunday long run, so it will come to you. This will make sense. But they're difficult miles at times, and especially in the winter, it's hard. It's graft. You can be really dour about it, put your head down, just do the job at hand, or you can do it with a smile on your face. And I think, when I see people, or people see me, I want to be known as the guy who smiles, the guy who's friendly, the guy who's kind, and it all comes from an authentic space as well. I have two daughters. I feel like I've got a responsibility to them to be a good person, and quite often if I'm ever telling them off or something, it's kind of like a code between us where if I'm just having a moment where I'm getting cross because they've spilt something or they're making a load of racket. I mean, that's what kids do. They're like, be more like running daddy, run daddy, running daddy. That's like one of those buzzwords they say to me, like, which basically means like, remember to chill out, remember that just be kind, like you can approach everything with kindness. So yeah, like anywhere I go, right, I just like to kind of figure out people. I would say I'm pretty much a people person. I hope something like that gets. But yeah, Steve liked people should be something that's put on my gravestone one day. Like it just is, yeah. I'm not being terribly succinct, but I can't see it any other way as well. And it's there's some other bits that we might not ebb and flow into, but that inclusivity aspect. So when you talk about 99% of the run clubs I've been to, you're welcome there, irrespective of anything that defines you. So your gender, your sexuality, your age, your race, you name it, whatever kind of it gets there. People say to me, "You're kind or you're inclusive." I'm like, I can't fathom when people are the opposite. Like, I don't know if it's somewhere on the spectrum of my mind where like it just makes zero sense to me. I'm like, I get cross. I can be a dickhead. Like, let's not pretend otherwise here. Like, sometimes people say, "Oh, you're a nice guy." I'm like, well, I'm not a nice guy. I'm a good guy. Like, if you piss me off, you will see the other version of Steve that comes out to play. But in the main, and I feel like I've got a job to do. Coach Emmerich puts his trust in me. That shirt's given but not taken for granted. Like, Emmerich expects the best of us every week, to turn up on time, to do the pace that's set there, that no runners left behind. And like that's taken from other clubs as well. So, obviously Amrit is taking the best bits, but places like Rundem Crew, where look, they have got so many wonderful mantras. Like, gosh, if any of you people are listening in London and you haven't been down to Rundem Crew run and you took their applause at mile 21, you owe them a Tuesday night. I'm sorry, you just do, because mile 21 at the marathon, you may remember this, Steve, is just like Scottish Steve. I don't know if you've done London. I'm not au fait with your profile. Have you done it before?
No, I would love to, but not yet. Not yet. Hopefully,
not yet.
Fingers crossed for next year.
There you go. So when you hit mile 21, Rundem Crew is there, and it's the most unbelievable. They paint the streets. You are hit with a roar at just the moment when your body, your brain, your legs, everything is falling apart. The endorphins just there. My friend Rob, who he paces for Tracksmith but was repping Rundem one day, just you guys can't see me, but I've got the goosebumps on my arm, and that will live with me forever. I'm certain that it will be one of those things on my deathbed. But what they talk about at Rundem is things like courtesy of community running. So, for example, if you're running in a pack and there's a dozen of you, of course, there's going to be someone at the front. You get to the traffic lights. Well, the point is not to get to the traffic lights, wait for the last person to get there and then immediately belt off. It's not going to kill the person at the front to take 30 seconds just to get a breath and allow that person who's got there last to catch their breath and join in that group. It's a community run. No one gives out. The amount of times I've shouted, and there's numerous people that could dive into your DMs and confirm this. Well, I've bollocked our runners on a Sunday when they're trying to dart away beyond the pace. I'm like, there's no fucking medals back at the track house today, dickheads. And they're like, and they look at me and they're like, is he for real? I'm like, but that comes from a place of kindness. And what I mean by that is, this is a group run. We stick together. This is a team effort. You're there to learn. You learn to pace yourself, right? Save your best efforts for race day. Impress me on race day. Show me that medal. Have the day that I wanted from London 23 and tell me all about it. Well, that's what I want to know. But yeah, so sorry, I'm mindful, Mr. ADHD storyteller here.
No, it's fine.
I want to ask a question about Tracksmith actually, and with people in mind. And it's someone's. I see him pop up on my feed, and I want to know if you know him, and I imagine you probably do. Is he as cool as he looks? And that's Halfy Runs.
Yes, so cool.
Halfy
cool, man.
I can attest, and Halfy will love me for saying this. Super cool guy. Lucky to get to know him a little bit personally. Can attest that what you see on there is very true to life. Halfy was one of the pacers. He's old school Tracksmith. He was like Tracksmith before Tracksmith was cool. Him and a chap called Shah, who I'll talk to you about. Shah, or at least don't let me forget to expand on Shah. But yeah, guys, follow Happy, engage with Happy. Very, very kind. I think he's up in your neck of the woods at the moment, St Andrews.
He
He
is.
was running.
St Andrews is a little bit further down the road than where I am. Just a
Oh,
little bit.
I guess it's closer to you than it is to us. That's probably
yes,
my
that
reference.
is true. Yes.
Geographically correct. No, you know what? I posted about it. One of my many posts after London Marathon, because you don't run London Marathon and simply just do one post. It's illegal to do so. But one of them was, for whatever reason, I found myself, at the end of London Marathon where there was no family or friends there. For one reason or another, people just couldn't get. And they told me in advance, so I was mentally prepared for that. Get across, got my medal, and I'm walking. I'm looking at my medal, thinking, "Oh, those last 5 miles were tough. I had to dig in for those." And the next thing I just hear is my name being shouted, and I was like, "There's no one here. Who's this?" And I look over, and it's Happy. Now, we've never met in person at this point. We've only spoken through Instagram. And he's like, "Oh, how's the run, man? How did it go?" We've shared stories, took a photo with the official photographer. By the way, it reminds me, I've actually got to go online and look at those. I've not even looked at them yet. But yeah, he was super, super friendly, like we'd known each other, like we'd run at community events, and it just speaks volumes. He is in person what you see online, Steve. He's such a nice guy, honestly.
He looks like the coolest guy going as well. It just looks like he's effortless. And if you're saying, Steve, that he was with Tracksmith before Tracksmith was cool, do you mean he made Tracksmith cool? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
It rubbed off.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I used to see Happy run and think, like, I want to be like that guy. And getting to know him, and even down to like before the marathon, we got about 45 minutes or an hour in a coffee shop where we're having some really deep and personal conversation, and it was just nice to connect to the guy, and know that there's a really great human being behind a running account, and that's quite often the case, but. Just to. So, I could sit here and you could next time. Well, I say next time. Talk about being presumptuous. I could do a whole episode just on Tracksmith, and I'm certain. No, as long as you're not time capped, I can tell you all about Tracksmith stuff in a moment.
Yeah, like I said, Steve, I can confirm he is a super cool guy. Super cool guy. So let's look. We spoke a lot about how you become a pacer and why you become a pacer, and so I want to look at your future. So I know you've got a couple of big events this year. Do you want to share those with our listeners and what you're aiming to achieve in those events?
Yeah, sure. So, gosh, and the big ones are Berlin and Chicago. So I've got a charity spot for Berlin and a ballot spot for Chicago. And I was kind of hoping, once I've had my charity place confirmed for Berlin, that I wouldn't get the Chicago spot. And then the money came out of my account, and I was like, I don't think anyone's ever been more sort of, fuck it, when I get a notification that you're running another world major 2 weeks after. So for me, the dream is again to, I want to persist with this, improving my running game. I've got a great idea in mind of how I want my summer to wash out in terms of training. I want to be a lot more dynamic. I really, my dream is after the Berlin Marathon is to write the words that support the thoughts and kind of have been delivered by the actions, meaning, it's not just me talking a good game, because so much of bloody in real life and Instagram, you can get swept up in, I'm going to do this, and you pick an abstract time out of your ass, and I'm going to hit that. But really, you're judged on what you do on the day. And I would really love it if, when I get around Berlin, that I can message you guys and say, guys, I'm happy with myself, and really mean it. Back at the track house, the pop up in Berlin, smiling at my friends and going, and them saying, mate, we knew you could do that. Not, oh, okay, there'll be another one. Which people are kind, they're not going to bollock you, are they? It's your race. They don't. Nobody cares as much about it as you do.
Yeah.
So those are the two immediates, followed by, mate, the one word to the wise for you, Steve, is around joining running community WhatsApp groups. So Tracksmith's Pacer group, about 6 weeks ago, it was like a pylon with the Valencia Marathon in December. Like, one person put an orange emoji, and it just started flooding in these confirmation emails, and I just had the FOMO hit me. So I've also signed up to that. So I've got like
Oh,
3 marathons, 4 months, but one I guess one is going to be Berlin. We're going for a PB. That's the dream, like statement out
Super
there.
flat,
That
isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's that time I'm going to keep to myself. But I feel like if I
Mm.
apply myself during the summer and I work really hard, and there's no excuses. But if it goes for me in the same way that Hackney Half did, then I have no reason to believe I can't achieve that. Chicago will probably be jogged with fun miles, and then come December in Valencia, it's basically like going away with your mates for the weekend, except we've got to tackle 26 miles on the Sunday morning, which is just, I'd never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. That, yeah, I'd be going on essentially a running holiday just for not because it's a world marathon major. I'm like, just because a load of my buddies are going.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is going to be wonderful. But it'll be
I
nice.
would.
It'll be fun.
It's funny because we was talking about this on last Thursday when we was walking around the track. I was like, I probably would be that guy that would go, I'm going on a running holiday. I'll see you later. So I'll get involved at some point. At some point, I'll definitely get involved in that for sure.
no, I totally won't know what you mean with the getting involved in chat groups as well for running, because we've got it for the Who Dropped the Debra team for the Loch Ness 24. Some days it'll just be relentless. Someone will say, well, it's mostly Scotland based, but oh, I'm running this such and such a 10K. And within half an hour, they're all doing it. And they're
Yeah.
all quite centrally based in Scotland. I'm up here on my Todd pretty much, thumb up my arse going, well, I can't take part, so I can't really have a fear of missing out here. But honestly, the chats are relentless sometimes. It's all good. I really enjoy it, but sometimes the notifications have to get turned off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
We're
not
very
actually in a
fortunate.
running group chat, to be fair.
I'll be
Save
warned.
yourself. Save
be,
yourself.
be, be warned, buddy. It's wonderful for the fun, and I ironically I find in those running chats that just some of the stuff that it goes in there is more like I guess running banter, is it, like, or the funny bits where we'll be talking about the long run on a Sunday, and that'll be Hamlet will send out who's doing what, who wants to do what, and it's just back to memes and comments, and it almost snowball. It goes in and out of one thing, in and out, but they're super
Definitely.
fun.
That's the same
Super
with the
super
What the
fun.
Fartlek family chat. It's the exact same thing. It'll be running related, and then it'll be memes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Like a half hour stuff on there is about like the Bake Off side of things for the Tracksmith on a Sunday. Like we'll be like, bring down cakes. Who's bringing what? Who's baking what? Pictures of cakes, and it's just like, yeah, it was like, oh well, yeah, we got to do the running. Oh no, we can do that. That'd be fine.
Now I'll probably get involved with the track and core one when I've been there, a few more times, being a consistent part, and then jump in, I guess.
Absolutely.
I think so. 6 stars. We spoke about that. That's on the to-do list, right?
Yes. So
Mm.
where do I begin with 6 stars? Skeleton plan for me is New York for 2024. Maybe Copenhagen. Obviously, it's not a star, but just to give me something to keep me fit for next spring. Sounds like a lot of our guys had good fun in Copenhagen. If anybody's interested for next year, Tokyo in 2025 would be the dream. I'll try and get out there by whatever means necessary, whether that's sports, one of the tours, or trying to get a ballot pace, or whatever it takes to get those two races. I'll try and get entry for, and then ultimately Boston. I had you guys will get sick of me talking about him, but Coach Emmerich, I was whittering on. So some people, hopefully, you'll appreciate this as both sides of the coin. If you get more than 3 stars, you get to go into a separate lane or ballot for the stars that you've missed out on. So, for example, this year, once I'll be all being well, injury free, I'll be a 3-star finisher, which would technically allow me to going for a place in the Boston Marathon without a Boston qualifying time, just to get a race place, right? And probably 500 places up for people looking to attain their 6. And when I told Coach Emmerich my grand plan, he just gave me this look, and he's like, "Mate, please try and do it on merit." And it just focused my brain in a way that like it just lit up something in my head that possibly didn't exist before. And I was like, he's just so right. Because obviously, I mean, attaining 6 stars, however you do it, is a flipping feat. You know, you've traveled all around the world. You've done nearly, what's the maths, 150 miles to attain those medals. They weren't given to anybody, right? But on his advice, he's like, right, please aim for a BQ. So without making me sound ancient, come January 2025, my BQ will be 310. And at the minute, that seems like such an impossibility that it's almost laughable, like in a way. But then I just have to reflect and think, okay, so Steve of 8 years ago would not have believed that I was doing any of this, that I'd run a marathon. So why is it outside the realms of possibility to believe that in 2 or 3 years, if I really apply myself through running, that a BQ it isn't possible for me? You know, other people do it.
Definitely. Yeah. 100%. I've been playing around with the idea of a Boston qualifier. I think I've got another 3.5 years maybe to get a 305. I think you only get to 40 plus is when it goes 310, isn't
it? You're giving my age away, mate.
What a knobhead. No, but in all seriousness, I was looking at it. I had the same thing as you before. I think before I done London this year, I only had London 22 to base sort of where I was at, and I had a chat with someone, Craig, the runner, and he said, the shape you go into these marathons sometimes only matters in a sense of you're ready at the start line, but the marathon won't respect what shape you're in at all. What's no shape of it. So I only had that poor, I say poor experience because I was disappointed in the time. You learn a lot. I learned so much going into London 23 that I took off like 2 seconds shy of 35 minutes off the PB. And I was thinking, well, if I didn't cramp up in mile 21, then I could have been around about a 325, 330. So a 305 is not beyond the realms of possibility. You know, you stay healthy, you stay fit, you keep learning and don't rest on your laurels. So yeah, I hear what Coach says, because
it is achievable for everyone, really. For especially for both, I would say both of yourselves. For yourself, Steve, with cramping, you know yourself. It's just taking some salt sticks, changing your nutrition, your 100%. Consumption just that little bit. And for yourself, Steve, as well, as you're coming up to the change of time. But we all know people that have had like quite severe injuries and been told that they might not be able to run again, or you're gonna have to take it easy, and they've gone and smashed a BQ. You get out what you put in, and you both have it well within you to do it. It's just about getting there and having the time to do it as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And my dream is one day to be very proudly showing off that 6-star medal. And I think 100%. Some of it's like, it's that none of us are professionals here. And it's, I guess, the standard of excellence in amateur running, if you can do that. And I'm under no illusions that I'm an excellent runner right now. But I would like to be one, and I would like to do that for me.
Just don't leave it too long, because they might add another couple of marathons and it'll be an 8-star.
Oh, mate. I've seen was it South Africa or Australia? And I was like,
South Africa's, I've heard that one as well. Yep.
Oh, mate, just make it worse. Add more to it. By the end of it, it'd be worse than like Fast and Furious, when you've got about 1,000 films in the franchise, and you're thinking, right, no one's completing that now. It's done. Awful films, by the way. So yeah, like I said, I hear what Coach is saying, because it's, as you said, you pointed out, even to get 6 stars is amazing, but there is a route for anyone that is financially able just to go and get them, if that makes sense. If you then say, actually, I run Boston as someone who qualified for the time, so I put the hard work in, and now I'm going to go celebrate that. And if that was your 6 star, I mean, that's ridiculous. How cool is that? You get your 6 star, from the event that you put the hard graft in and qualify to get into that area. I think coach is perfectly spot on with that one. You know what I mean? It's perfectly spot on, because the pride you get from that, that's my Boston medal, and I qualified for that.
And you can walk around it while you've got, as long as you go around the cut-off time, but you don't have to absolutely race that one either. You can soak it up. That would be your victory lap, and you just go with it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, I'm totally with you, boys. And I know, like, it was people like Kirsty May, who was, bless it, every post is still the Boston and the 6 stars. I'm like, she is so proud of that, and rightly so. And that's someone who I'd like to emulate, because she's worked hard through running. And I think actually that's, one day, lads, one day, and it will happen. And
one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so last question is, this was purposely put at the end because, I didn't want it to get lost with the chat. So if you could give one piece of advice to anyone thinking of joining a social run but are nervous about doing so, what would it be to that person?
Can I answer that in 2 parts, if you don't mind?
Go for it.
Go for it.
So the first piece of advice, do it. Just like the Swish says, just do it.
Yeah.
It's the first step in getting going, being brave. And I regret, like so many people say, is not doing it sooner, earlier. Would my life have been fundamentally different? I don't know. Like, I think, as we said, all the different things that have happened to me and for me have just been in the plan, right? Universe's plan. But if you're on the fence about it, and you have the opportunity, wherever you may be listening to this, and you see a social run, or you've always thought, oh, maybe I should go down it. Yeah. And it's labeled as a running club and not an athletics club, go. Absolutely go. And then I will offer some advice off the back of that, which may be helpful to people as well. And I'll try and be fairly detailed. So a few caveats or helpful pieces of information I would say is, make sure the medium of which a lot of us operate these days is Instagram. So most of these running accounts, even the brands, the brands, and then not just your other local running clubs, make sure you're dropping into the DMs and asking them some questions around things, stuff like, do they have changing? Do they have a backdrop? Do I need to bring water? Stuff like, what's the pace going to be? Now, it might be worth people who are new to running having a little research their end about what different, because I had no bloody clue about paces. I just would turn up a run and hope for the best, and if I could keep up. But that's not, like, that can be really dispiriting. And I've been at places before where you turn up and you are left behind, and that's just, you've turned up for a community run, not to fucking run solo, right? You've just done the complete opposite of what you hope to achieve. So, like I said, making sure you're engaging with the captains. And what I mean by the captains, effectively the club leaders, the face of the brand, whoever responds to you on Instagram, ask them their name. Things like that, ask who the name is. Is it Sarah? Is it Dave? Is it somebody else behind these accounts? Are there many people that go? They're all questions you can ask, like anything. Like, you're just trying to ascertain what's what. Is it local to you? Does it work for you? It's, what else did I was thinking of? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, ask lots of questions. Try a few of them. Consider it like dating, right? You're going out there. You have to kiss a few frogs before you find a prince. Like, there's going to be some clubs you go to that you don't vibe with, and that's okay, because that club's probably not doing anything wrong. It's just not the right club for you. One that you will find, will find a home. You'll find people who are similar to you, or someone to talk to. And when you're there, I don't want to give people bloody lessons on mental health and teachings and such, but one of the biggest things I've come to is like, accept some of those feelings. Like, it's okay to be nervous. We spoke at the very start of this around Mo saying making new friends as adults through running. It's really hard. But once you get in the swing of it, and you go back the next week and you see somebody, I'll get their Instagram details. That's usually a fairly safe way to get people's numbers, because they can block you, delete you, or whatnot. Like, it's not too weird to ask for that. You say, "Oh, are you going back next week?" "Yes, I am." "Okay." So that creates an accountability. It creates a friendly face. They'll say, "Oh, welcome back," and "How's your week been?" And always, and before you know it, you start looking forward to it. I promise you'll start looking forward to it, and then it'll become like a destination in your calendar where you'll be saying to your friends or family, "Hey, I can't come out on a Thursday night. Like I've got a couple of friends of mine I go out drinking with on a Thursday occasionally, and I'm like, oh, guys, I can't do it this week. Track and course on, or guys, I can't do this because I've got to go here, I've got to do there, or like Saturday. Sometimes I've chanced having a few beers on a Saturday night, but I know that Amrit counts on me on a Sunday morning to get those miles done. I've told them I'm going to be there. I'm going to take the people around. Like it creates an accountability, a responsibility for yourself to go along. It's not just the pacing bit, but turn up because people want to see you. People are interested, and you'll make mates, you'll make friends. I've made some amazing friends. I just spent Sunday just gone. Myself and a couple of guys, Jerome and Nihal, we went from the clubhouse with a few others, and it dwindled down eventually to just us. But we spent most of the day in London, going between places we could drink soft drinks, alcoholic drinks, have an ice cream, have a beer, some pancake. It was just chilling out, and it's just bloody do it. Don't stop not doing it. Ask me where places are to go, and I can tell you a million that would be suitable for you. Ask your friends as well in the running community, like especially if you're an Instagram running account, and you're listening to this. Don't be frightened. Say, and equally, gosh, talk about bloody tangent here. One thing I'm big on the community is that it is about like celebrating some of these places and people, because some of your running coaches and leaders are, they alluded to earlier about the paying to keep the lights on at the track. It's not a big profit. They're doing it because they want to, or maybe they're earning their coaching badges. And that's not exactly a sinister motive to want to coach people to help them run. There's nothing untoward in offering a session at a reasonable cost to do that. But like, make sure you celebrate if you have a good time, and if you haven't had a good time, be constructive or share that privately. That doesn't mean you excuse someone if there's been like really bad behavior somewhere or so. I mean, I've never experienced that once, fortunately. I'm sure it'll happen. I'm sure there'll be a bad day at the office, or someone I bump into, or something occurs that causes a problem. But in the main, making sure you're celebrating them, and it doesn't have to be just the brands, because they are what they are. But there's other places out there where it's just people like just us here who have gone out of the way, identified a need for a run club, have a passion for it, a love for it. You're in a very safe space in these places as well. They all speak your language. So when you sit there in your office and your colleagues look at you and they've got a fucking clue what you're talking about when you're saying, "I did it next number of kilometers, next pace," you come down to a running club, don't know exactly what you're banging on about, and you'll be sitting there talking about your trainers or where you want to go running or what your next race is, and it just gets you in that world. Yeah, it just gets you in that world, and it's such a lovely. The running community is a lovely community. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, it had to articulate it really succinctly, but it's just lovely. Just lovely. They're friendly faces. They're kind people. We're all got a shared interest. Like it's if there's going to be anything to get involved with, it's one of the most harmless things in the world in that space. So please do it. Please do hit up everybody you need to. Ask me questions. Ask Steve questions. Ask your captains questions, and get down there.
Spot on. I mean, when I turned up the track and core, I think I was the first person there, and Mo was like, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, hi." I didn't think he'd recognise me. He didn't make spoke a couple of times, and they really pay that attention to the people that are committing to come down. And then was all chatting about the run, all different walks of life in there, all different confident capabilities. Everyone was so open, honest, and raw with the conversation, because in these running clubs and these communities, they've created that safe space where you can. It's okay to say you didn't enjoy that run and being emotional about it, but everyone's here to high five you, hug you. Do you need help? We have a chat. It's a place to get it out, because you do your run, didn't you? And then your family like, "Oh, did it go all right?" And you go, "Yeah." They go, "All right, cool, nice one." Anyway, moving on. And then you're thinking, "Oh, I didn't get the feeling out there. I need people that talk my language, like you said, to understand what I mean by I enjoyed the environment, but I hated my run, or I could have performed better, or
there was some really those. I don't know if you have a moment to talk on the medal reflections, but it's one of the first times I've ever partaken in that. And that's just something that Track and Core did after the Hackney half, where everybody got to bring the medal along and kind of talk about the race. And there were some people in there, I was like near to tears, like I had like a tear in my eye. I was ready to go. And you just realize how much the privilege of running, or the comebacks, or what it's meant, or what they've had to fight to do, or what's going on in their lives, or the community side of that, and it just touches people in ways that you can't even explain. And like for me, when you're getting involved with the communities and you get to do something like that, it's just brilliant. And I know certainly anytime I've got to help somebody, and I get some of the kindest messages through people DM me and they put out in public, and some of I just don't deserve that, like I'm not that great. And then it's just truly humbling to see that you've had such a positive impact. And the world, let's be honest about it, the world's fucking shit most of the time. They're worried about AI is going to self-destruct, Russia's going to blow us up, there's famine and stuff. It's pretty fucking bleak out there. It's something as simple as putting one foot in front of the other and bring people so much joy. It just perplexes me that the world isn't built around running.
No, and then the flip side of that, at the end of the session, someone had a new pair of Hockers. And it was like, oh, Hockers, and it was like it's like a magpie around a plate of silver.
Oh mate, it's one of those. They say running's a cheap hobby, but
it's not.
I can tell you those some of the bits I've earned from Tracksmith have been sweating blood through miles on bus runs and pissing down. Oh mate, freezing cold mornings where I thought I could just stay in bed and have a bowl of porridge, a cup of tea, and go back to bed. And you're out there, you're smiling, you're getting it done. Yeah. And we're very lucky to have the social running community. I am a big advocate for it, and make sure you signpost it, look out for it.
Oh, 100%. Mate, I've enjoyed this episode. I know my co-Steve, he would have as well. Obviously,
no, certainly. I've tried to stay a little bit quieter than usual because I've really enjoyed listening to it, and I know exactly what you're gonna say, Steve, and I'll say it as well. I've enjoyed that so much. I know Steve's enjoyed that so much. We want to know more, so we're definitely gonna have you back on.
He's coming
Steve.
back on.
Yeah. You don't even get a choice, actually. You're coming back on, whether you like it or not.
Well, gents, it'd be an absolute privilege. I've loved talking to you guys. And thanks for listening to me, and all those people out there listening to me whittering on about running. Like, God, what a luxury to have this platform and this voice.
Right.
Thank you.
No, more than welcome, dude. And we'll share this out massively to everyone to give you a follow for the super good vibes, to know what's happening and where it's happening, and you can pop along, even people that don't live in London and they're down in London for work potentially, or anything like that. They go, oh, well, they said there was a run club on a Tuesday just around the corner from me. Let me pop along and see what it's like. So it's open to everyone.
So, mate, my DMs are open. Ask the question.
For the next time, this is something that was actually suggested. Neither Steve nor I kind of knew you well enough to know exactly how we would do it, but B, how well received it would be. Now, for your next episode, Geese is one of the runners in Edinburgh. She suggested we do a kind of shag, marry, avoid, but running related. And both myself and Steve are going,
what does that look like?
How will that start? And B, we're not sure if Steve would be up for that. But I think if we got it right, I think we could make it out. Would you rather than a shag, marry, avoid?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I play
would
that
you
game.
rather?
Yeah, I could. Chaps, game for anything.
Okay,
I'm not being funny. I'm not sure how the first one worked. Go, these vapor flies, shag, marry, or avoid.
That's it.
Mate, don't get me started on the swoosh. That's definitely a cliffhanger for another time.
I'm glad you went with shoes, because I'm in my head going, which of the goats would you shag, marry, avoid? Kipchoge, Gadber Selassie, or something. I can't think of a third one there. But...
Wow.
Yeah, well, see. We're in that respect, we're quite far apart, Steve.
Yeah, definitely.
On that note, I think we'll end it there and save the rest for another time, man. And let you really get into those Ibiza chilled moments or panic pack, one of the two.
Yeah, and just a quick one to say a huge thank you. I am very, very blessed. We spoke a lot about community, but everybody is really kind to me, and that makes more of a difference than they probably even realize. So yeah, super grateful to all my friends listening to this, and to you guys for having me on. Thank you very much.
No, mate.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you for coming on.
Awesome. That was really good. Now, we already mentioned this before the interview came in. We recorded it yesterday because, as mentioned in the interview, Steve runs LDN. He's going on a stag do. He's going on a bit of a rave to Beetha, as you've been calling it, Steve.
Beefa.
Going Beefa.
Yeah. Might as well go pop down to Shagaloof when you're there.
Shag a muff, as I've known it.
Oh, it's going. This pod's going left again.
Yeah, we're hitting the big E button. Yeah, no, that was really good. And like I said beforehand, I could have got a nice warm cup of hot chocolate or tea and just listened to Steve chat. And we were both a bit unsure, like we mentioned at the end of that interview there. We were unsure on exactly how Steve would take things, but he's just like me and you. He's just really chill.
I also think me and you had very different ideas of what it would mean. very different. Very different reasons. Equally as disturbing, however.
Oh, I was trying to think on the fly there, and yeah, it came out really bad, didn't it?
Really? I was like, okay, this has gone very left.
But you were talking about shoes. I'm thinking that's a foot fetish and a half. But I mean, we couldn't have a finale to what both myself and Steve feel has been a fantastic first season without having a fantastic guest first and foremost, who's massive in encouraging the community of not only London-based runners but runners across the Instagram platform and beyond. But we could not have a season finale without toasting it with a giveaway. So we've been really pushing to get some prizes and get a prize package. And yeah, our friends over at the Loch Ness 24 have come through, our friends at Runner have come through, and our friends at Trainer Armour have come through. And actually, Runner, they're going to be on the show in the future. Trainer Armour are going to be in the show in the future, and so are the 24 crew. But Runner are on the What the Fartlick podcast this week. So that came out when this comes out. It came out yesterday, so it came out on Thursday. Give that a listen. I'm so looking forward to listening to that myself, but I am also looking forward to having them on and chatting away to them. But to get into it, we have a giveaway. You're all wanting to know what it is, what we're giving away, and how to get involved. And to celebrate the success of the podcast's first season, now you can tell I'm reading a script here now, we have teamed up with the Loch Ness 24 to run a fantastic giveaway and celebrate the season. So the legends at the 24 are kindly giving one lucky winner a solo or team entry to this year's fantastic event. Now, I was talking about the cult before we went into the interview because a lot of our listeners might be thinking, I don't want to do it solo if I win. I want to join a team, but I don't know anyone that's going. You can join us. You can join the Who Dropped the Dibber team. There's also teams coming from Edinburgh. There's other teams you can join. There's plenty of people that will kindly accept you into their little cults. But definitely we will. We have 6 teams currently, 5 or 6 teams currently. No, 5 teams. We're almost at the point of 6. So we will take you in. We will show you the love. We will give you all the encouragement and support that you need. But in addition to the event entry, the superstars at Runner and Trainer Armour have added to the prize package. Runner are chucking in an Eco Tech top and a runny hat. Now I've got both already. A lot of people that follow me would know what the Eco Tech top is. It's the vest with the lovely Runner logo on it, and you'll get it in any color, any size. what will happen is we'll either send the prize package out to whoever it is that wins it, or ideally, if the person can actually make the event, all going well, we would hand it over to you. We would get your sizes, we would get it sent to us, and we'll hand it over so we can get some nice pictures and get to meet whoever it is that wins. As I say, Trainer Armor have already sent over 5 pairs, so it's not only their toe protectors, their toe hole protectors, preventers, but also their heel protectors. So they've sent over 5 sets, so we're going to put 2 sets into the main prize package, and then we have 3 sets to give away to other random entrants who might not win the main package, just to kind of share the love a little bit. So with myself being a massive fan favorite of both the Runner and Trainer Armor, I use both, and also a big supporter of the Loch Ness 24 event. We can't emphasize enough how amazing this prize package is, and one that is currently in excess of £100. Now, if you look up how much an entry to the Loch Ness 24 is, you're really lucking out here. They're doing us a solid by giving us this entry. To be in with a chance of winning, we'll do that first, and then we'll cover some terms and conditions. But first and foremost, step one is you have to follow. Now, this will all be covered in our socials, but first and foremost, you need to follow the podcast page. So that's at the Point 99 podcast, but you also need to follow at Loch Ness 24 on Instagram, both of our Instagram pages. Secondly, we would like you to like the Instagram post when it comes out later today. So that's Friday the 2nd for anyone listening later. The contest will run for a few weeks, so we'll cover the closing date. So if you are listening back a little bit later, there's still time getting on it. If you're listening a year later, you've missed out. Step 3, you have to tag 2 friends in the comments. And we're also going to throw in 2 bonus entries.
Sorry, mate, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
No, it's right. My Wi-Fi dropped out. I do apologise, guys.
You're okay. So we're throwing in 2 bonus entries. So you don't have to do these. They will just slightly increase your chances of winning. Won't be much. It'll be just a small percentage. But bonus entry 1 is if you follow the @runner and the @trainer armor Instagram pages, you'll bag your first bonus entry. And then for your second bonus entry, if you follow both myself and Steve, and I'm Mr_Steve_runs, and London Steve is @runnermansteve. So you'll get 2 bonus entries if you do both of those. You don't have to do both. You can do one or the other. You can do both. You can do neither. You're still going to be in with a chance of winning, whether you just do the first 3 parts or whether you do the additionals. But entries close at midnight on the 29th of June, with 1 lucky winner being selected at random. Now, hopefully we'll do it on Instagram Live so you can all see it. We'll publicize it, we'll film it, we'll make sure that's all above board and everyone can see. We're going to make it as transparent as possible, but the winner will be announced or selected and announced on Friday the 30th of June, and it will be announced, as I say, on our Instagram page.
Terms and conditions, the boring stuff, and you'll be able to tell I'm reading this directly off the phone to get it absolutely spot on. We allow only 1 account entry per person. You must follow 3 of the primary steps to be eligible for the competition. The Loch Ness 24 entry is only valid for the 2023 event and cannot be deferred or transferred. The winner must be over the age of 16 to be eligible to take part in the Loch Ness 24. At the Point 99 podcast is the only account that will contact you regarding the giveaway. Any other accounts claiming you have won should be considered fake and reported. Please do not respond to any suspicious accounts claiming you have won. Finally, Mr. Steve is a nerd and will be checking all the terms and conditions have been met by the winner. Any deviation from the rules may result in a new winner being selected. We will, however, remain transparent with all aspects of the giveaway. If you have a question, please feel free to feel free to welcome John. I got to the end. You know what? Feel free to DM us.
Yeah, if you wanted, if you have a question, DM us. You can DM the page. You can DM Steve. You can DM me. Finally, on that one, because Steve did a great job. It took him a couple of times. It's taken us a couple of times to record a lot of this episode.
A lot of this.
But for the Loch Ness 24 entry, it is the entry that includes the camping cover, it includes the medal that you're going to get, includes everything that a standard entry would give you. You still have to supply your own camping equipment and make your own way to the event. You are just getting what you would standardly get with an entry if you bought it yourself. But we can only wish everyone the best of luck. As we say, we've got a good old few weeks to get involved, and maybe, just maybe, we might be making a reappearance for season 2 around about a similar time. We haven't had a discussion on that yet, but we're going to take a few weeks off. Finally, though, so we're going to come to the end of this episode, because it has been a big old monster. I know this is going to be in excess of 2 hours.
It's a monster. If you've got to this point in the podcast, I salute you.
Well, that's why I've put it the giveaway at the end, so people have to stick, or they have to skip. Have to skip through it. I hope they haven't. I hope they've listened to it all.
To be fair, if they do skip across, you're going to miss a fantastic interview, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I would say if you have skipped, go back and listen to it. We haven't hidden any. I was thinking originally about hiding some sneaky little buzzwords that they had to catch throughout the episode and not tell them what time it was at to make sure, but make a sentence out of it. But I thought that's mean. We'll maybe do that in the future. We have had a fantastic first season. Both myself and Steve have loved it. I mean, it has gone by in a blink of an eye, but it's been for a pair that have been putting out podcasts every other week, and listening back, it was so ropey to begin with, and even now, we're still reading a little bit from a script, because there's a certain amount of preparation that goes into before we record. Not only that, but then we have to edit it. We have to get all the graphics done and get everything out. It's come on leaps and bounds, and everyone's been so supportive, and it's just gone from strength to strength with the support, and we can't thank everyone enough. There is a potential in a couple of weeks' time we may have a bonus episode. It won't be necessarily both myself and Steve, but we're going to have a look, and it'll be a recap episode. So it might just be sound bites from across the season, from the 10 episodes, mashed together, our best bits or funniest bits. We'll see. We might not do it. Don't hold your breath, but hopefully we can get something out there. When we're coming back, however, time will tell. We'll have to have a discussion. Hopefully it won't be too long. We have a busy old summer. Steve's got a toe to fix, and then he's got a summer of speed to get on with.
Yeah, man, I thought I'd be by this week up into the sort of 28 to 35 mile bracket, really getting all those easy miles in, sort of, and then some speed in there. But it is what it is. My performance, once the toe has been sorted, will be elevated, because I'll be running with others every Thursday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, so you've got a busy old time of that. I mean, I think you're right. Your endurance is going to come on, but with endurance, the longer you run, the further you go, the faster you're going to get on your short runs. So we're going to see your 5K and 10K times tumble over the summer. For me, I have a busy old time next week of a family wedding, which I've got so many jobs to do at it. So it couldn't come any sooner. Work's going to get hectic. I've got the 24 to prepare for. We've got sponsors already getting sorted, but got other sponsors to look at. I've got outfits to sort. I've got trophies to make. I've got a lot to do, and I don't have to do it. I'm just doing it because I want to show the love to the team, and this is why whoever wins should consider to join us, because I'm trying to go above and beyond to make everyone feel welcome, just like the crew did for me at the weekend. So all going well. Hopefully I can get a recap episode out, and but in the meantime, If you're looking for something to listen to, the What the Fartlek guys are early on in their season. They're out every Thursday. Well worth a listen if you haven't before. They are fantastic.
So funny as well.
So funny. And I always feel so
funny.
sorry for poor Matt, but at the same time, some of the stuff he comes out with, I'm not surprised they have a go at him.
It's brilliant. It's it just makes you laugh. You get great people on there, and they've got such a way with getting the person they're interviewing or their guest, however you want to, categorize the person they're talking to, but they do such a great job of getting that brilliant information out of them.
Yeah, Rob does a great job.
But it just rolls off, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they use a kind of form of script as well. But no, Rob and the guys, they do a fantastic job. So if you're looking for something to listen to and you don't already listen to them, tune into the What the Fartlek podcast, and they were great for us at the beginning as well. They put a mid episode advert in for us, and we can't thank them enough for the support that they've shown us. And they showed to everyone. They showed to Ryan, and I'm not sure how many episodes Ryan's got left, or if he's broken up yet for his little break. But if you aren't listening to the Press Play and Run podcast, why not get listening to Ryan? I have noticed his episode isn't doing nearly as well as the next share I'm going to have. So Emily and Hannah, who now have the Adventure Blether podcast, their episode is top of our analytics just now. Ryan's is not anywhere near. I mean, he's not got nearly as many fans as the girls have got. Or they don't want to listen to us, one of the two. But yeah, listen to the Press Play and Run podcast. Even if you've not listened, listen back, because I'd say Ryan might be on his break. He might be coming up to his break as well, and he is well deserving of it because he's been doing that himself, hammering stuff out. Adventure Blether, they've just started. I haven't actually had the opportunity to listen to the girls yet. They've got their second episode just coming out. I need to listen to the first episode, and it's just because I haven't had long runs because my injury issue. I haven't been running. I've been training someone. I haven't had my shocks on. So I'm going to get stuck into catching up on a lot of these as well. And then we've got 40 runs as well, which is Steve's joined the online crew. Funny enough, Steve, actually, mid-Edinburgh, even early on in the marathon, I saw a 40 run crew t-shirt, and I was like, there's one.
He's massive. I remember seeing 40 runs apparel before I knew what 40 runs were. And it's really funny because the first time I saw Chris, who is, Chris Ford, when I actually saw him on YouTube and Instagram, I was like, I saw you on the DLR after the big half last year. And I remember him. And I remember looking and thinking, he's very, I've got a way with faces. I remember faces very easily. Maybe it's the police work I've done before, the job I do currently. I see a face and I remember it. And I was like, I saw you on the train. Oh, wow. Yeah, it is you. So, yeah, great crew to follow. Great podcast Monday. And he does a one on a Monday live, just him talking about tech, gear, trainers. People ask questions in the comments. He answers it. What's the best everyday trainer? So you get a lot of tech advice from there. And then Friday, they have like 4 of them, and they just go through.
Let's have the banner.
Different topics, might have. So yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, there's so much to get stuck into. You can still message us. We're still going to be about, and as I say, hopefully everyone gets stuck into this giveaway. But we won't be gone for long. And I would say that one of our biggest fans, she admitted to having not listened to us for much recently, and she was the big name and shame. All I'll say is she wanted us to record every week. Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I'm not surprised because this girl adventures.
Oh, I was going to say I was not jealous one bit of her weekend.
When she was in Monaco.
Oh my God, I know. I'm a massive F1 fan, and
So am
Oh,
I. I'm a
oh my
Mercedes fan.
God. Yeah, you're a glory
I'm
seeker.
team. No, not at all. When us to think when Lewis Hamilton moved over from McLaren to Mercedes, we've gone off topic here, but when he
Yeah.
went there, they weren't the team really because they hadn't really achieved much in that time. I think it's when Toto Wolff came over. So I'm thankful I was there from the beginning of Lewis Hamilton moving over. Before then, I weren't. It's a bit like football. I follow Mercedes because of Lewis Hamilton, and now stuck there. Same way
I
reason I
mean,
watch UFC is because of Conor McGregor.
at least
So
with Hamilton, it's national pride for you. I was always a big David Coulthard and Paul di Resta fan.
I cannot stand Paul di Resta. That geezer's got a chip on his shoulder. It's not even funny. It's so bloody obvious. He can't stand Lewis.
The going back to the topic. Yeah, no, she's been adventuring, but she's got a bit of catching up to do. But she has been out running. It's been good to see her back out running. Her runs are looking strong. I think a break does everyone all the best. Great. It does great for everyone. So her bit of adventuring in Paris and beyond is hopefully going to help her times tumble. But I've done enough shout outs this week. Steve, are you want to do any shout outs before we say goodbye for a little while?
To be fair, I think we were so shout out heavy.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it at that. Although the only thing I shout out, and people won't know because I've not got all their account names, is the track and core team.
Mm-hmm.
They made me feel super, super welcome. They done the Hackney half. 19 of them done the Hackney half. I've never met a more supportive bunch. There was such a mix in there. We've alluded to it in the interview we had with Steve. Super, super great team. So
yeah,
I guess I'll shout out to track and core. That's about it.
And to reiterate what Steve Runsland LDN has said and what Steve's already said in the interview as well is, if you are in two minds at the moment, you're looking for people to run with, get yourself down. I mean, you might be a little bit anxious about it. You might have some reservations, but they're really nice people. Just go down, bite that bullet. You won't regret it.
No, it's all the running clubs communities want is when someone turns up, you're open to, don't just turn up and not say anything. Go there. Just people, you think people don't want to hear about your life, but you'd be amazed at what support you can get from people because the clubs see you as a person first and then run a second. Simple as. So that's where we should do it. I did have a little laugh just there about the Paul di Resta thing, by the way, because I thought, am I really ending a second podcast in a row by potentially annoying some part of Scotland? So I've done it with I saw Ryan's comment. He goes, "The wee shite bag."
Bob Burrows, he said you were a great guy. That's why Bob Burrows said you were fantastic. So we actually cut off a section at the end of that as well to do with American football. But before we get sidetracked anymore, it's been a monster episode. We'll reiterate that the giveaway. Please get involved. All the information that we've just regurgitated and spat out at you, it will be on a post that will come out after the podcast episode has launched. So it will come out later today on the Friday. If you're listening later on, you've got until the 29th of June to get involved. If you're listening after that, you've missed the boat. But yeah. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic time while we're on a break. I know myself and Steve will try and enjoy a little bit of free time as much as possible. But like we say, if you keep involved in the socials, we'll let you know when we're coming back, bigger, better, stronger, and a little bit more competent at what we're doing, hopefully.
Yep. That's, absolutely perfect. It's been a great season. Can't believe it's, 20 weeks, episode 10, one every 2 weeks. So 20 weeks we've been doing this. It is insane. Looking forward to season 2. Have a little think whilst we're not doing it. And then hopefully you'll join us for season 2.
Do you wanna do the toast end off? Do you want to think of something? Because I'm always rubbish at it.
Do I want to think of something? Don't run around your flat and break your toe on a croc.
Well, do with that. Don't take Croc's name in vain, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Have a good one, guys,
Boss.
and you'll hear from us soon. Oh.